completa una tarjeta en la mesa que dice comentarios públicos. Si desea hablar por WebEx, levanta la mano en WebEx y presiona asterisco 3 en su teléfono. Simplemente diga la palabra español antes de comenzar y le diremos cómo proceder. Le daremos 3 minutos para comentarios públicos. Gracias.
Thank you, Robert. I'm pleased to see members of the community here with us today. I'm pleased to see several members of the chain of command of LASD with us, and I'm pleased to see a healthy quorum of our commission here with us today. I believe we have 7 members with us. So with that, please, could you call the roll, Tracy, of commissioners?
Thank you. Robert Bonner, Chair Robert Bonner, absent. Commissioner Callaway. Here. Commissioner Cooper. Present. Vice Chair Garcia.
Here.
Commissioner Giggins.
Here.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Hicks.
Present.
Vice Chair Johnson.
Here.
Vice Chair Johnson, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And I'm also pleased to be joined by Sheriff Luna, whose time with us is brief. And so we will strive to move up his opportunity to address us on the agenda to afford him time during his presence here. Thank you, Sheriff. The consent calendar consists of the Commission's June 26th meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded. This item is open for discussion. Do we have any corrections to the minutes or comments thereon? Hearing none from the commission, do we have any public comment on the minutes, Ms. Jordan?
There are no public comments on this item.
What a shock. Okay. Let's take a vote on the approval of the consent calendar. When I call, Tracy, you wanted to do the roll?
Chair Bonner, absent. Commissioner Callaway. Commissioner Cooper.
Aye.
Vice Chair Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Giggins.
Aye.
Commissioner Harris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hicks.
Aye.
Vice Chair Johnson.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. I want to ask now, with the agenda item being family impact remarks, do we have a special request for family impact remarks from the audience that may not have been submitted earlier from Vanessa Perez? With that request received, I wanted to ask, given the time allotment, would you be able to speak now during this portion of the meeting, Ms. Perez? Yes. Let's proceed with that if we can.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Vanessa Perez, and I'm the mother of Joseph Perez, who was 22 years old, a young man when at the time weighed approximately 110 pounds and stood 5'4". He was experiencing a mental health crisis, and he was homeless, and he was unarmed. And 5 years ago this month, he was brutally beaten and left for dead by the deputies of Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. To this day, no justice has been served. In 2023, Sheriff Luna took office, a new face, a new promise. But since then, nothing has changed, not a thing. In the early hours of July 27, 2020, Joseph was attacked. Not subdued, not restrained, but attacked by a group of deputies who wrote reports so brazen and cold that they read like they already knew no one would hold them accountable. And 5 years later, I'm still reading those reports, still living those moments through their words, still trying to understand how 7 trained professionals could justify beating Joseph the way they did. Sean Merrick was the first to arrive. He threw Joseph against the fence, then down onto the ground where he landed on top of him. And somehow in his report, he is the victim. His foot was stuck, or maybe it was stomped on by other deputies. And that's where the sympathy lies. There are now rumors that Merrick is affiliated in a deputy gang, but still no investigation and no accountability. Deputy Abraham Rivera and Deputy Adam Nelson, they arrived with Merrick. Rivera positioned himself on Joseph's upper torso and began punching him in the face 3 to 5 times. Then, using his full body weight, pinned Joseph on the ground. Rivera complains in his report that he was exhausted and he was tired. He says his punches weren't having the desired effect, so he hit Joseph 10 more times and then 10 more times to his head. When he felt pain in his wrist, he continued to knee my son 10 more times to his abdomen. He ended up in the hospital, Abraham Rivera, for his injuries, not for what Joseph did to him, but for what he did to Joseph. His wrist and hands were hurting him. Jake Adamo, he saw Joseph and Merrick on the ground. Without hesitation, he punched Joseph in the face with both his right and left fist to his groin again and again. Then he used his personal weapons, and whatever that means. Later, he again punches 10 more times using both fists. Joseph moved, maybe a reflex, maybe an instinct, but Adamo claims he was elbowed. So he struck Joseph 10 more times to his head. He strikes Joseph with his right fist, and then he says he felt a sharp pain in his right hand, and he believes his hand is broken. Nonetheless, he transitions himself again by placing his right shin across both Joseph's right and left thighs. Let me say that again. His right shin across both Joseph's right and left thighs. I'd like to remind you, Jake Adamo weighs 220 pounds and he's 6 foot. My son is 5'4" and weighed 110 pounds. But yet, Jake Adamo is the victim in his report. Vincent Rodriguez, Deputy Vincent Rodriguez, he jumped directly on Joseph's torso and face, punching 10 times and then 7 more. He wrote in the report that his heart was beating fast and he was exhausted, but he had to be relieved because of low lighting and dizziness. My son wasn't the one being pulled off the pile, he was the pile. Deputy Palmbaugh, when he arrived, he didn't stop the violence, he joined in. He punched Joseph in his face 10 times, then 10 more. He described the stabbing pain in his arms and hands. He sat back on his ankles and his heels to catch his breath from the beating he just gave, and then he walked away seeking medical attention for himself. Who checked on Joseph if medical attention was being given to all these professionally trained deputies? Deputy Paul Sedana, he delivered the 14 final punches. In 2003, he was assigned to be a school resource officer, the kind of man we're now trusting to walk school hallways with our children. How does a deputy go from brutalizing a young man to being placed in charge of other children's safety? Then when his contract ended, he became a detective in a different station. What kind of system rewards this? All of their reports paint my son as if he was Mike Tyson in his prime. 7 trained deputies claimed they couldn't restrain a 110-pound young man in crisis, because he was fighting like a professional boxer. Joseph never trained in combat. He's never taken one self-defense class. He wasn't Rocky Balboa. He wasn't a threat. He was mentally ill and he was vulnerable, and they beat him like he was a monster. Who writes these reports? Because it feels like someone, maybe multiple people, are helping craft a narrative that protects these officers and buries the truth. So I ask, why hasn't your department released these unredacted records? What could be redacted after all of this was reported already? Why wasn't there an immediate internal investigation? And why wasn't the Office of Inspector General called to the scene? How are deputies allowed to write themselves in as the heroes when they left my son broken on the ground?
30 seconds, Ms. Perez.
And why is it that I must go to a 4-year college plus 3 years for law school to practice law while your deputies carry a badge and a gun after just 6 months of training and a high school diploma? Maybe that's the root of the problem. As Joseph's mother, I carry the pain, this rage every single day. I want you to know what it feels like to read your child's assault, a near-death experience described as a list of physical complaints from the deputies who attacked them. I want you to imagine seeing those men walk free, promoted, and protected while your son walks with trauma, fear, and scars that you can't even see. He lived, but what kind of life did they leave him to live with? I will not stop fighting for my son, and I will not stop seeking the truth. You can start by releasing the truth, Luna. Release the unredacted reports, investigate these deputies, and stop pretending like this is normal because it's not. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. We'll now continue family impact remarks, hearing from the family of Francisco Nunez. 5 minutes, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sheriff Luna, I want to speak to you directly because this is personal. My brother Francisco Nunez is not here to speak for himself. I've been here plenty of times for over a year. You know what happened. His voice was silenced, and now I'm here speaking for him. As his sister, as someone who deserves to know what happened, and as someone who has been denied that basic human right. I've requested Francisco's records. I've asked, pleaded, follow policy and procedures. I've been stonewalled. I pleaded homicide to please act in good faith during the investigation to help us as his family understand why this happened to him. Instead of transparency, I've been met with retaliation, deputies showing up at my door at 5 a.m., my personal address distributed within at Lancaster Station, harassment, intimidation, all because I dared to ask questions about my brother's death. LASD surveillance continues as of yesterday. Still no answers for me. Deputy Simi, still by my house. You say you support oversight, but your actions said otherwise, Luna. You sent a representative to Sacramento on your personal behalf to oppose AB 847, a bill that would just simply allow this commission to use their subpoena power just to help us get records for our loved ones. That move wasn't just political, it was personal. It was a direct insult to my family and every single family devastated by this department's abuse of power. You didn't just oppose transparency, you actually sued this commission that's meant to hold you and your department accountable. You're actively delaying justice, blocking the release of records, and standing in the way of our truth. Let's be honest, if those records were to be released, including Francisco's, you fight so hard to keep these records sealed because you know what happens when they're open. You know the stories they tell. And you know that once the public sees the full picture, a lot of you won't be in the seats that you're on for long. You claim to care, then prove it. Stop hiding behind these lawyers. Stop attacking oversight and stop silencing grieving families like me. You failed me as an employee myself. And I came to you in November and I told you, and you told me that you heard me loud and clear, and I never heard from you again, and I never heard from your Office of Constitutional Policing as well. Because the truth you're trying so hard to bury is exactly what the community has a right to know. Delay us, dismiss us, but know this, we're not afraid. You've underestimated the power of us families out here. The grief, the united in grief, the driven by truth. We're just getting started, Luna. We need answers, not delays, not you obstructing our process of just asking for answers that you fail so hard to give us. You won't give us any answers. You hear her son made it. She still can't get answers. How do I not have the right to know what happened to my brother? You don't know what it was like to see him, to identify him, and tell me that nothing happened. You don't know where Francisco Nunez was at. Then your captain changes the story on me 3 times. My story has never changed. I've never came up here to lie to you. I don't have a reason to lie to you. All I wanted was the truth. What happened to him? And I've been faced with retaliation and it still continues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes family impact remarks. Ms. Jordan, could you just briefly indicate whether we have any further requests that have come in for family impact statements?
No, there were no additional family impact remarks within the stated guidelines that are listed on our website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we turn to the next item on our agendas here today, which is the business of our own commission. And we are in the process of renewing our own leadership and continuity of governance on our own commission. Today is a day of transition, and I want to recognize the chair of the nominating committee and turn over the proceedings to Irma Cooper.
Thank you, Vice Chair Johnson. Before we begin the election process, I will briefly go over some of the duties of the commission chair, which includes working with the executive director and commission staff to prepare the meeting agenda in compliance with the Brown Act, calling the meeting to order and verifying the presence of a quorum, presiding over discussions and debate, and ensuring that participants observe order and decorum, conducting the meetings according to Robert's Rule of Order, as well as the commission's ordinance and bylaws, attending meetings with stakeholders. We have only one nominee for chair. That is our current co-vice chair, Hans Johnson, who has an opportunity now to address the commission about his qualifications. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooper. As I stated at our June 26th meeting in preparation for this transition and in anticipation of the chair role, I wanted to just provide a bit of background about myself and also a bit of vision, core values and goals for this commission in undertaking the next year of work. I've worked for more than 30 years at the local and community level in various states and cities around the country to improve the practices of oversight and responsiveness of local police and sheriff departments to many very difficult issues facing them and their chains of command, including hate crimes, including diversity in hiring, including outreach and responsiveness to the LGBTQ+ community, and including immigrant communities that are often underserved and have been ignored within the orbits or jurisdictions of departments, now transitioning into an opportunity for talent and service in those sheriff's departments. That has been very rewarding and very illuminating work in various cities and states around the country. Here in Los Angeles County, which has been my home for the past 20 years, I've worked on some of those same issues involving transparency, building coalitions at the community level to advance accountability, and trying to promote a long misunderstood and sometimes trampled on concept called public integrity, which really depends on those other key ingredients: community engagement, transparency, and an ongoing push and sincere effort to achieve pathways of accountability, even in agencies that have long resisted reform and openness about their operations or about wrongdoing that might go on within them. Taking on the work of community accountability, transparency, and public integrity has been extremely rewarding in the course of my work on this commission for the last 3 years. That has included work on technology and our work on quality of life by this commission. And I look to take that to the next level over the next year plus, drawing on the talents of fellow commissioners and building collaboration and a respect for the power of good governance by this commission and what it might accomplish in the community. Those 3 priorities, as I outlined last month, shining a light on hard truths about our sheriff's department and its operation, its relationships with the community, and difficult issues that have been long ignored and are now on the cusp of meaningful change and reform, including the presence of deputy cliques and gangs in the department. I want to align the operations of our commission, including our committees, so that they advance our strategic goals and that we are a nimble and outspoken commission, able to take action both at our commission meetings and between our monthly meetings. And I also want to share the lessons of this commission through institutions like NACOL, through community partners like the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice, whose presence here today is testament to their enduring engagement with our commission and with the community and with the stations of the LASD, and to make sure that the lessons of our hard work and some of the breakthroughs that we achieve here in Los Angeles and in California can be shared with other civilian oversight commissions around the country. With that, I ask for your support in this role. I thank my fellow commissioners for their tutelage and guidance that has helped put me in a position to serve our commission and our communities in this way. And I thank our executive director and the staff for being such able partners in this mission. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to a roll call vote to select the commission's chair for the fiscal year of 2025 through 2026. Tracy, please do the honors.
Thank you. Chair Bonner, absent. Commissioner Callaway. Commissioner Cooper.
Aye.
Co-Vice Chair Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Giggins.
Aye.
Commissioner Harris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hicks. Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
The vote is now closed with 7 votes for Hans Johnson, or Vice Chair Hanson, excuse me, I'm mixing it all up. Hans Johnson has been elected to serve as chair of the commission. Congratulations, Chair Johnson.
Thank you very much. And thank you, fellow commissioners. I really appreciate your vote of confidence. Thank you. And thank you again, Commissioner Cooper, for chairing the nominating committee. With that, I wanted to recognize the remarks that would be read into the record by the absent chair from the past year and an 8.5-year member of this commission who is passing the torch now, even in absentia. And with the indulgence of fellow commissioners, I wanted to read the statement prepared by former Chair Bonner for this occasion. He says, "I regret that I cannot be present to pass the gavel to Commissioner Johnson, and I wish Hans well as he assumes the role of chair of the Oversight Commission. As I leave the commission after 8.5 years, I know that each of you understands the importance of the independence of the commission to its ability to effectively and credibly perform its role of overseeing the Sheriff's Department. Critical to this role is assuring that the commission's independent subpoena authority given to it by the voters of Los Angeles County in Measure R is protected and made effective. To this end, I am confident that the commission will do all it can to get our proposed revisions to Chapter 3.79 adopted by the Board of Supervisors, and it will also overcome obstacles to get a legal action filed to enforce the commission's subpoenas so that the court can clarify, as I believe it will, that the commission can go into closed session to receive and discuss confidential Sheriff Department force reports. As I leave, I have one request. I ask that Hans, Executive Director Mosley, and the Commission as a whole continue efforts to convince Sheriff Luna to adopt recommendation number 3 of the Commission's recommendations to eliminate deputy gangs and deputy cliques. Recommendation number 3, which would ban deputies from joining or participating in deputy cliques, has been subject to a meet and confer between the sheriff and ALAD since March 2023. This recommendation only applies to subgroups within the Sheriff's Department patrol stations or units which are unauthorized, number 1. Number 2, exclusionary. They exclude other deputies. 3, secretive. For example, they are committed not to reveal the names of their members. 4, typically they have matching tattoos. And 5, they are known by names such as the Executioners at the Compton station, Banditos at the East LA station, Rattlesnakes at the Lancaster station, Spartans at the Century station, and Indians at the Industry station, and it goes on. The sheriff can legally and constitutionally ban, going forward, deputies from joining or participating in deputy cliques per a legal memorandum that involved substantial pro bono legal research and analysis by the law firm Gibson, Dunn & Crutcher. All deputy cliques, as defined above, are or have become deputy gangs. This may be the last chance to eradicate deputy cliques and gangs from the Sheriff's Department.
If Sheriff Luna adopts the commission's recommendation, in my view, it will be the most important reform of the sheriff's department in decades. With these final words, I say to all of you, goodbye and good luck. It has been a privilege to serve with you on the county's most important and consequential commission.
Thank you, Chair Hans. I will now,
Before we move on, I do want to ask, was that motion regarding the chair, was there a motion regarding the election of the chair?
no, do we need a motion?
Can we maybe reconduct that portion of the agenda briefly? Because I think there needs to be a formal motion and a second as we proceed. Could you perhaps, as chair of the committee, make that motion?
I move that we accept the nominee for Chair, Hans Johnson. Can I get a second?
Thank you.
It has been moved and second.
Can we quickly recall the roll, please, Ms. Jordan?
We sure will. Chair Bonner, absent. Commissioner Callaway. Commissioner Cooper.
Aye.
Commissioner Vice Chair Garcia. Commissioner Giggins. Commissioner Harris. Commissioner Hicks. And Vice Chair Johnson.
Yes. Thank you all.
And again, congratulations.
Thank you. Now, let's move on to the second part.
Okay. I will now go over the duties of the commission's co-vice chair. They include presiding over the meeting in the absence of the chair, collaborating with and completing tasks assigned by the chair, attending meetings with stakeholders. Currently, we have two nominees for our co-chair positions. They are the incumbent co-vice chair Luis Garcia and Commissioner Arthur Callaway. So we will now hear from co-vice chair Garcia first. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Irma. And congratulations, Hans. I do appreciate the opportunity to serve as a co-vice chair for a second term. And by way of qualifications, I'm a lifelong LA County resident. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I work as a behavioral health consultant in my time outside of this commission, as I do have a private practice as well, seeing LA County residents who primarily deal with mild to moderate mental health illness. I am a 1995 high school alumni from LA County Jail. I accessed mental health care services there back in the 90s, and so I'm well familiar with that area. And that's pretty much the lens that I bring my oversight role into, building trust between the communities that I grew up in. I grew up in the Southeast area, LA County area. I still live in that area, and I am, mindful of this work and how I can impact the community with those lived and professional experiences. And I continue to look forward to the work that we're going to do this year. And yeah, I'm just grateful to be on this commission and to build that trust as the work continues. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Garcia. Now we'll hear from Commissioner Callaway. You have 2 minutes, sir.
So I've already said the actual, the things that I feel that I bring to the position last time, but I just want to note that as a true advocate, my job is to eliminate the need for my position. And that is the literal task that I want to take on. We should not have to have oversight. We should only have organizations that hold themselves accountable. And I want to help that actually come to fruition and build trust between this department and the community so that we can just, as family members and as citizens and as residents, understand if something happens to our family, then we can actually understand what actually happened. And that is all I want to do. So I thank the commission for the ability to be in this position. And I hope that we get to that task sometime in the near future.
Thank you, Commissioner Callaway and Co-Vice Chair Garcia. We will now move on to the roll call vote to select.
Motion. A motion.
We've been through this before.
Thank you for the reminder. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move.
For both candidates.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It has now been moved and second.
And to clarify, the motion is for the election of both of the co-vice chair candidates.
The motion has been forwarded for both of the vice chair candidates. Tracy?
I will conduct the roll call for Vice Chair Garcia, Chair Bonner, absent, Commissioner Callaway, Commissioner Cooper,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garcia, Commissioner Giggins, Commissioner Harris,
Aye.
Commissioner Hicks, Chair Johnson.
Yes.
We have a vote of 7 for Vice Chair Garcia. Vote is closed.
Tracy, can you hear me? I just want to make sure that the motion was for both candidates.
The motion-
I'm voting the tally separate for each one.
The motion was for both of them combined. That's how, that the vote should be conducted according to the motion. According to the motion for the combined vice chair's election.
Okay, so you don't want the roll call separately.
No.
All
Combine it,
right,
please.
so the roll call is 7 for both.
Thank you.
Okay.
Much appreciated. And I just want to say thanks and congratulations to both of the co-vice chairs. Like so many of our commissioners, these two vice chairs have distinguished themselves, not just their service, but to the important representation that they provide on this commission and the value that their particular experiences in community, in the unique chemistry that is our county and the communities of our county. I just want to thank both of them for the unique representation that they provide for this commission and for all LA County residents in doing this work of oversight. Now I'm going to take, with this item concluded, a little bit out of order because our sheriff is here with us today for a limited time. And I wanted to give the sheriff himself a chance to update us about progress on items that were addressed at last month's meeting, but also other pressing concerns, especially in light of the stress and anguish, and I would even say intimidation and stark fear that many of our communities are experiencing now because of federal agencies' activities and masked agents' involvement in our communities right now in Los Angeles. I know the sheriff has some thoughts about this, and I welcome his remarks here today. Thank you.
Good morning and congratulations, Mr. Chair, new chair, and then congratulations to the co-chairs. I know it's a lot of work, it's volunteer work, and I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you very much. I would like to start off, and I'm going to get to, Chair, some of the concerns you just raised, but I always do start off with talking about the fact that we have about a 10% reduction in Part 1 crime. That is critical to talk about because there's a lot of rhetoric across the United States that Los Angeles is a crime-ridden place and we need the military here. things of that nature. And I'm just telling you that our sheriff deputies, our community, we're all working on this together, and we've been able to reduce crime through a crime strategy unit and just a lot of really good work. That's important. To date, from a use of force perspective, in custody, we have a 18% reduction in use of force. And in patrol, we have a 19% reduction in use of force. And these are stats up through the end of May. Deputy involved shooting wise, we have a 55% reduction as well. So, and that's just a summary of some statistics. In regards to immigration, I do always start this conversation with making sure that everybody on the commission, and more importantly, everybody in our community, understands that we as the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department do not get involved in civil immigration enforcement. And although that sounds crystal clear, some of the incidences that we've been involved in, specifically over the last month and a half, have been somewhat convoluted because of the action by the federal government and a lot of the immigration enforcement that's being conducted, not only in LA County, but some of the counties that surround us. So just so everybody's aware, in the last several weeks, our team has put out 2 videos, one video in English, one video in Spanish, that describes the uniforms that the members of our department wear, both in patrol, just like I'm wearing now, and then when they are conducting tactical operations in the field. There's a variety of uniforms that are clearly identified that say Los Angeles County Sheriff, or they have a name or a badge number attached to them. Why do we do that? Because there's a lot of concern that the federal authorities that are involved in this immigration, whether they're masked or not, the uniforms are wearing, there's a lot of concerns and questions. So I wanted to make sure, respecting the community, the fear and anxiety that exists, that we put that out. And from everything we understand, it's going very well. It's being taken very well in our community. There's actually other departments that are following suit, following our lead to do that. We've also put out a checklist to our employees that involves when a federal agency contacts us, and depending on what they're asking for, when we can get involved with them or not. SB 54 is clear about what we can do regarding civil immigration enforcement. County policy is even more strict than that. So we're giving our employees further guidance in those areas. We also just recently came out with an additional guidance for our supervisors, that if they go out and we get a dispatch of an abduction or something like that, that we're going to get out there as quickly and safely as we can, try and make contact with the federal authorities, identify who the supervisor is, just to make sure that they are a legitimate federal agency that's doing the work that they're out there doing. There's been a lot of concern about that. There is a lot going on with immigration. The only last thing I want to mention to clarify, I don't know if it's misinformation, but I want to clarify it with all of you. Yesterday in the LA Times, there was a story that talked about the LA County Sheriff's Department transferring people to ICE again. And what I want to clarify first is that, and I want to give you an example. In 2024, we made approximately 59,000 arrests that year. That same year, we had exactly 995 times that ICE had sent us a detainer request. And I'm just giving you a sample of 1 year. We complied with 0. We did not comply with 1 of those detainer requests. All along, our department was being criticized, whether it was in the community or by others, that there were some very serious offenders that were in our custody, and we weren't turning them over to ICE, and they would get back into the community and potentially reoffend. a lot of ifs, maybes, things like that. So one of the things a lot of us in law enforcement were saying is, because if you look at SB 54 and you look at county policy, it strictly talks about the only time we can turn somebody over is if there is a federal judicial warrant. We had not received any federal judicial warrants from the federal government for anybody in our custody up until the month of May of this year. And that is a warrant signed by a judge for certain individuals. So to date, there are 20 people that we've turned over to ICE because all of them have had a request for a federal judicial warrant. We expect those to increase. Those are legal documents signed by a judge. We cannot deny those. And from just looking at the synopsis of the charges associated with these individuals, there are some serious crimes that have been committed, from attempted murder, robbery, injury, corporal injury on a child, sexual battery, touching of another. I could go on and on. There's some pretty serious crimes that have occurred. And you know what? If that's the case and they're doing that, I think we can all agree that that's somewhat acceptable. I am not sitting here, though, telling any of you that chasing day laborers in the Home Depot or chasing people through car washes or tackling some lady making tacos on the street is acceptable. I actually find that kind of reprehensible myself. So we're working through this. It's a very difficult situation. And I know through this commission, there was a question about our involvement with either MOUs or grants that we accept from the federal government to do investigations or policing. They're all good questions. And by the way, historically, this commission does not oversee grant conversations or MOU conversations. We have hundreds and hundreds of those every year. But be assured, as I'm sitting here telling each and every one of you, that although we have dozens and dozens of our deputies assigned to federal task forces, they have been strictly directed that they will not, I repeat, will not involve themselves in civil immigration enforcement. Like anything else in life, there's always a gray area. If there is somebody who's here unlawfully and they come to us and said, hey, this person is a threat to Homeland Security, or they're a dangerous person, there will be some room for what ifs there, but that doesn't happen very often. But if they come to us and say, hey, we want to, that guy's running from us for immigration purposes, we don't get involved in that. So I just want to clarify that. I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you, both about our custody facilities and our partnerships with the federal government. We still have ongoing partnerships with the federal government that don't involve immigration. We work with them on human trafficking. We work with them on cyber crimes, on scams. We work with them in gang work, guns, you name it, from a very serious crime. They are integral in the type of work that we do moving forward. And as you've seen recently in the media, there's even times where we seek their assistance when we're having challenges within our own department for activity that is unethical or illegal, where they come in and charge some of our employees federally. Those relationships need to stay there. So I just want to make sure, because not everybody always understands that portion of it. And so that's as far as immigration goes. Do you want me to move on? You want me to pause for questions or on immigration?
Let's just ask, are there any questions for the sheriff on this issue or the issues that he's covered so far? If not, please conclude.
I do want to clarify something. The issue of AB 847 was brought up earlier. And I know that's been there's been a lot of discussion here in this room and off-site. And I want to clarify some misinformation. I never opposed AB 847. I actually remain neutral. And just to repeat myself and what I've said over and over is that the reason we as a county, a department, county council declared or are asking for this declaratory relief is, I don't need to tell all of you, for years, decades, there's been a lot of discussions and arguments about privacy, confidential information. So my thing is, let's get before a judge and let him make a decision. He says go, guess what? It changes what we've done for decades. If he says no, then we'll figure it out. But to say that either I oppose it or I'm not in favor of oversight is 100% inaccurate. So I just wanted to clarify that piece of it. And then I think it's going to be discussed more a little bit later on. The next bullet I have here is update on Inspector General's access to crime scenes. And I wanted to make sure that as we're talking about any incident involving the death of another, whether it's a deputy involved shooting or an in custody death, and this is the information that I have. Since 2019, we've had approximately 300 call outs in those areas. So that goes back, what, about 5.5 years. To our knowledge, and based on what we know, we've only had one incident that I'm aware of where somebody's been denied access into a crime scene. And obviously, when I hear that from one of you or our Inspector General, that gets my attention. That's a red flag. So I immediately ask, what was going on here? Why did we not allow that person in here? There are times, because every scene we respond to is different. Some of them are unique. And in this situation, from what I understand, is that it was a very small location with a variety of evidence, and the detectives made what I believe is a logical choice, not to allow not only the Inspector General office in that room, but other members of the Sheriff's Department. The only ones that were allowed to go in there were the actual handling detectives, members from the LA County District Attorney's JSID team that responds, and then the forensic folks that process the evidence. And there was plenty of that. But please know that even if somebody from the Inspectors General's not allowed into a scene, they will still be involved with us in our critical incident review. They have access to body worn cameras, and as the case goes on, they have access to everything. So it was alarming to see that in writing, because you think it's happening all the time. And based on my research, my preliminary research, yes, it did happen. And it's happened once, at least in the last 5 years. Definitely once in the time I've been here. But even with that, talking to my assistant sheriff he oversees investigations, I will now have a process in place where if somebody's denied for whatever reason, they can contact that assistant sheriff. So there will be a little bit more oversight within that area to make sure that it's the right thing to do. Because somebody can doesn't mean they will, because every situation is different. And at the end, processing that evidence and not disturbing it or interfering with that is a priority to us. So that's a summary. And I wanted to say that before I left. And then Assistant Sheriff Skeen, who is over that area, will be sitting in my seat here momentarily when I leave to my next scheduled event. So with that, I'll pause it. Again, a lot of information, and I want to make sure I put that all out.
I do want to ask, especially in light of the DOJ request in just the last, in just this week, very recently, about turning over to DOJ the names of all incarcerated people in county jails throughout LA and other counties in California who are not citizens, about their crimes, arrests, or convictions, and their scheduled release dates. How has that request been received by you and your department? And do you have any at least notes or provisional response about how LASD might handle that order and the teeth or the threats that might come with it around compliance?
So Anytime anybody gets arrested, they are live scanned. The minute you get booked, processed, and you get live scanned, that's a national system. So agents of the federal government will know that you're in custody. So it's not that we're notifying them, it's an automatic notification based on your fingerprints. Right now, if you are waiting for your loved one to get out of custody, that information is public. Any of you can go on to see when somebody's going to get released. That does include the federal government as well. They have access to this public facing websites. So we are very transparent in many ways that people just can go on the internet and look this information up. I hope that answers your question.
Are there any other questions for the sheriff, especially given his time constraints? Are there any public comments?
I have a comment.
I'm sorry. Commissioner.
I just want to,
You're on.
I'm on, okay, good. I just want to comment because I think other jurisdictions have taken up your policy of putting out the information that LASD will not be going out there and turning over immigrants to ICE. And I've noticed that other, the LAPD has put that out and other jurisdictions. And I want to say that I'm really pleased with that is being communicated. And I just want to say that I'm kind of very proud of LA County in all the ways that leadership is standing up to this, these traumatizing and possibly very illegal events that are being carried out by ICE, et cetera. So I just wanted to say that. It feels good to be an Angelino when people are coming together to resist.
Thank you for that. I believe every agency in LA County, and there's 44 of them, are doing a pretty good job in this extremely difficult situation. But we're in the middle of it. This isn't over, because every time it's almost like a punch, then there's a counter punch, and it's interesting. Never seen anything like it, to be honest with you.
Before you go, I do want to ask, this is so far-reaching. It is so intimate, and it is so devastating. The thuggery that people are experiencing, the sense of questions and anxiety about people being disappeared. This has to be affecting members of your department. And I wanted to just ask you, how are you dealing with those instances or complaints of people in your own department who are having family members caught up in this same dragnet?
That's an excellent question and a point. As most of you are aware, our department is more diverse today than it ever has been. So we have a lot of members of our department that come from immigrant roots.
Including yourself.
Including myself. My parents, or at least my father, was an immigrant from Mexico. My mom was born here, but her whole family's from Mexico. And it's similar stories. And for those of you who are not aware, we have hired in the last several years DACA recipients. We have several dozen of them that work, that are out there as Los Angeles County deputy sheriffs and in our professional staff ranks. So we are very integrated and look like our community here in Los Angeles County. So this is very difficult for many, if not almost all, the members of our department.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Sheriff, regarding the Inspector General's access, and I believe you said there was just one incident out of the 300 callouts. How did you get that information?
Checking through our homicide unit, because they log in all the information when they roll out.
And so you would have to rely on the veracity of those sheriff deputies about whether or not they allowed access to the IG's office. There's no like independent way to corroborate that.
Not that I'm aware of. I can go back and check. I don't see another independent way. The other way is to have members of the Office of Inspector General complain to us that it's not happening. To my knowledge, this is the only time it's occurred, because we typically, I would say 99% of the time, have a very good working relationship with the members of the Inspector General's staff.
Right. So that's my question. If the Inspector General's office were to say that they were denied access more than once, that would be contrary to what the deputies say, right?
It could be, and I'd love to see the information. I've been provided none of that to date, other than that one incident.
All right, thank you. I have to ask, do we have any public comment on this item or the previous item?
Yes, we have public comments on both.
I want to ask, can you take public comments first on this item before we go to the prior item?
Okay, we'll start with the in-person public comments. We have Cindy Nunez, if you can stand in line. Okay, thank you. George Bazzetti, if you can go to the mic, please. George Bazzetti. Chair Johnson, how many minutes would you like for public comments?
Can we do this in 2, please?
Thank you. 2 minutes each. George Bazzetti. If I can get Isaac Ashbury to stand in line. Jacqueline Venters to stand in line. Thank you.
I'm a former invited partner of the real original Sheriff Citizens Advisory Board.
That alias he refuses to give me, but I have it.
What am I hearing that for?
Because I
Get it together.
also have timelines against witnesses. Do what's right, whether you.
We had a real one.
Seen something.
I only see one person up here with the creds. That's Mr. Calloway. The rest of you are career builders.
The integrity of this entire department that you work for.
It's a joke.
Thank you.
I've read everything that you had, a couple of 100 pages yesterday, the lawsuit, the MOUs, all this foolish business.
Item 6 on the agenda, excuse me. And
I know that none of you even know about the original one. It's been wiped off of the web.
the revisions to 3.79
When I walk into federal courts,
to the Board of Supervisors.
there's former sheriff deputies in there.
Officer.
That left that mess.
At the board letter.
The result was coming after Baca.
Go to the board.
They wanted to be
so,
real long.
So they can be discussed initially at a justice.
I've been in that jail twice at 67 and 72.
By the way, the executive
tried to kill me.
Update from
There
the
with 100 gangsters.
office is to win the board letter.
Only when I put thrown in that jail, immediately all those inmates recognized me and respected me.
He is.
Wouldn't happen for any of you.
For the letter.
You'd be in deep trouble.
Any
They told me
ETA.
with 100 guys be beaten to death.
No.
Chief stood up and said, "Hey, George, come and talk with us." And I talked hundreds of inmates, evidence law, changed all their cases.
County Council already spent 3 months looking at the
I don't know
revisions.
what people think you're up to, but your fraud is over.
It's
You're running an illegal meeting.
to the executive officer, and we.
You have no right to tell people what they can say and how they can say it.
Agreement.
How do you think we shut down the city council for a
Thank
complete week?
Wanted to amend the 3.79. But other than that, the only other thing with respect to the status of the 3.79 revisions is that County
Isaac
Council
Ashbury. Thank you.
advised us in December of last year that it planned to seek an Attorney General's opinion
Good morning.
regarding whether 3.79, the 0.035.
Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice.
That don't track.
I want to provide you some documentation this morning in reference to
It's ad hoc committees.
Can you raise the microphone, please, Mr. Ashbury?
Self-kept confidential.
in reference to transparency on the sheriff's website, in reference to officer involved.
February 18th, it's 2 days ago.
If you check their website, they're going down to like one page in reference to investigation. For example, Andre Guardado's case,
essentially whether or not
35 pages in the investigation. You check the sheriff website,
violate
one page.
state
No
law.
way. That should be an issue.
The commission's position,
So
by the
we
way.
have-
I
have
process. I've already said that.
Officer involved shootings,
Commission's position, which was made
all the
clear
documentation,
in the letter.
And we go back 25 years, and we're gonna submit this to you
February
also.
15th before the.
And a problem I'm starting to run into is in custody deaths. So I normally don't deal with in custody deaths, but
that
the
supervisors.
information is not there. If somebody has been killed in the county jail, you got to search. I was trying to search for young blood. I couldn't find a young blood.
3.7.035.
And on their website, they don't even provide the names of the people who's been killed.
Given the timing of that
Provide you
correspondence,
some names to some examples of how
that
they
did not
used to do in custody deaths.
before making that letter.
The proper
Do you believe that there's any chance that that request for an opinion of the Attorney General that circumvented
Jackie
consultations with you or with this body
Morning.
might,
I stand
given
here
that it
today,
happened
I'm
in the
speaking on
wake of our
behalf of the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice that I'm a lifetime member of. It's so disrespectful to all the families in here that the sheriff don't have enough respect for them to stay here and listen to some of their concerns, which are valid. We sit here and say that the shootings and all these things have went down, but we have not had no accountability for these deputies that have committed murder, attempted murder, robbery, and all these other things. When are we going to hold them accountable? Because this is bigger than the sheriff department. It goes into the Department of Justice. I just found out last week that they,
submitted the request.
whoever this guy is, Alan, I can't pronounce his last name, head of the
legal analysis.
integrity unit. This is like the second or third time that he stopped the
What I would say
investigation into the deputy that shot my son 5 times in the back.
To make it clear at this meeting as well.
I got a file here, and if you guys was here some years ago, I pulled in a whole wagon full of facts.
Attorney General.
Why is it that this deputy is not being held accountable for murder, attempted murder? His actions were unacceptable.
Does not violate state law.
Everybody know, all you guys know that I've been coming here for years. My son is out. He wouldn't have been out if he
in the courts
didn't commit a crime. We got the facts that he was excluded from this weapon that was planted.
An attorney
Here
general.
it's still it's documented from somebody that was investigating and was doing what was right, and they removed him.
Definitely want to urge the
So
board.
hurt that he lied to me, but he didn't know. George Gaston told me that that wasn't true and told me to send him what he sent to me. He refused to send it to me. It was his investigation report.
This commission.
I got it.
So we can start.
And it shows that he was doing his job, that this deputy, his actions are questionable. 4 shootings in 7 months, 1 murder. Unacceptable. And I'm gonna keep coming here until this deputy is held accountable for his actions, because it's not just him, it's 3 other victims. And it needs to be investigated fully.
Investigation. We're denied that. We're denied that because among other things now.
We have online
That's still an active investigation.
Valerie Vargas.
But in any event, the point being.
Valerie, you have been unmuted.
But the interesting thing is, if you read, as
I will tell you that on the WebEx,
I mean,
yes, can you hear me?
It supports the fact that we
Can you hear me?
entitled to get confidential.
You have to display commentaries playing at the same time.
Can we
on
move on to a
WebEx.
different comment, perhaps?
County
and come back to
council.
that caller?
And I would submit this is county council's job. I'm sorry, Mr. Dill and Mr.
We'll take the public comments
County
for
council's job,
item
not
number 6.
the attorney general.
We have George
but state that
Pizzetti.
the sheriff clearly, one way or
Item
the
number
other.
6.
I don't think you can do it legally.
George
Tell him that.
Pizzetti, if
Tell us
you
that,
can
because
go
you
to the
might
podium, please.
be able
And Isaac Ashbury, if you can step to the line,
But if
please.
you think he can do it, tell him that and tell him clearly so we can move forward with the process of getting confidential information. That's what lawyers do. That's what public lawyers do. It's what private lawyers do.
Yeah.
If your county counsel is the counsel for the sheriff's department and the county.
Number 6, so that I know that I'm on topic.
Can do this. And it's important, by the way, it's absolutely critical to effective oversight that we have access to confidential.
It was the sheriff's item.
Okay.
Item 6 was related to the nominations,
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
elections.
It was the elections of the new officers.
Well, you know, you're supposed to do that before you have it. Do you guys even know how to run a meeting? I mean, this place is a joke. You can't run nothing.
That is incredibly important to effective oversight. I won't draw any inferences further as to why they would want to obstruct this commission and delay the enactment of the revisions. But they have already said, and this goes back.
Other sheriffs there every time.
Privilege information, but look,
They
in
would,
December.
they would talk to people and they do something about it, unlike these fools here.
The law is reasonably clear right now
We didn't need
that
security.
the sheriff can give confidential
Last time I was
information.
at your meeting, you're all crying about you gotta have all this security so you can have a SWAT team there in 2 minutes. Because you're afraid of the people you're servicing.
What are counsel for?
These
What are
poor
lawyers
people
for?
have
They
dead
can't
people and you
clearly
won't
say
respond to
they
them.
got a legal
Please
issue.
make your remarks germane to the issue.
They all remain to the issue of the sheriff. What's
In
wrong
fact,
with
the board,
you?
I don't think the board has to delay the
You're just
revision.
trying to divert everything.
Please follow the code of conduct, sir.
They won't.
I hate to
But
tell you,
if they do,
do you want me to show you the stack of paperwork that says conduct is
I do
illegal
wanna
by
ask,
Supreme Court decisions? How do you think we shut down state
questionable
council for 4 days?
timing of that
Ever heard of that
request.
happening?
The timeliness.
You want to see it? Including the
Um,
1919 decision where you
if-
can't even
for the
stop
Board of
us what we
Supervisors.
want to say in a
Would it
war?
be wise for this commission to
This is
also
supposed to be a legal deal and you don't even know the law. You
Thank
can't
you.
run your meeting.
Thank you.
the
Next,
sheriff's department.
public comment. We have Arthur Ashbury. Excuse me, Isaac Ashbury.
Okay, I'm here to submit more documentation. This is in reference to the district attorney, Justice Integrity Division. I would like for you to check out their website. In the years prior, we would have like 20 years of information from the Justice Integrity Division. Now it's basically 5 years and that's it. So if you want to look up somebody, say like a Avery Cody who was killed in July of 2009, it won't be there. So I want to present this documentation for you to take a look at. Thank you.
Well, just real quickly, I wanted to congratulate Hans on his
Let's
position.
pause. Let's pause.
Oh.
Vanessa Perez.
Hi, I just wanted to quickly congratulate Hans and Louis and Arthur on their new positions. I know they're going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further public comments. You're going to go back to online. Do you have Valerie Vargas? Valerie, you have been unmuted.
Thank you. Your WebEx was displaying public comment and in-person comments at the same time earlier. So I wanted to speak on Sheriff Luna. And I also wanted to say that Sheriff Luna continues to speak the same empty script about oversight as Alex did, like year after year. Only the uniform changes, but the truth remains the same. He consistently avoids accountability and leaves before the community can't even hold him responsible. Same coward, different face. The cycle of deception and avoidance has not changed with the sheriff and his gang-related deputies. What's happening in LA with the ICE agents is nothing short of human trafficking. People are being stolen from their communities, families are devastated, and loved ones are suddenly missing without a trace. Families are crying out for their loved ones, and yet those who are uniformed are complicit in this nightmare continuing with their us versus them mentality. Same violent behavior. Furthermore, LASD is participating in these unnecessary and inhumane detentions of undocumented community members and those fighting against ICE and advocating for their rights. This is wrong. We are witnessing the suppression of our community, the silencing of our voices that seek justice, and the continued perpetuation of fear and division. Bro, people, it's time for justice and our communities deserve better.
Thank you. There are no further public comments on, we have another one that just joined us. This is the final
Okay.
public comment. It is Julie Martinez
Please
has
please
raised her
proceed.
hand.
Thank you.
Julie Martinez, you have been unmuted.
Address the board and more importantly to address Sheriff Luna. Sheriff, regarding Vanessa Perez's presentation, as the lead sheriff, you have the ability to cut through the lies of those deputies who beat someone who stood 5'4" and weighed 105 pounds. They're lying on their report, and you have the ability to see that you're intelligent, You've been around policing long enough, and you need to hold those officers accountable. In addition to that, I'd like to switch to immigration issue. If we in the community who are being targeted based on the color of our skin and being kidnapped by fake police officers, we don't know what they are, bounty hunters dressing up with costumes from Amazon, giving authority by Trump's federal government to go into our communities. Those of us who took basic civics class in high school know that this is a violation of our constitutional rights. What recourse do we have? I do not believe that you address this enough. If we in the community are afraid carrying our passports, and let's clarify, these are not illegals as it is being portrayed. These people are in the process. They have declared the ability to apply for citizenship. In addition, they are kidnapping US citizens, people born here, third, fourth generation people. The question that the answer that I did not see from you, Luna, is if we in the community call 911, are you going to stand there and protect these mass kidnappers, or will you protect the community members? Like you said, you are bothered that somebody who has cooking tacos on the street or a landscaper is being unfairly and targeted by these. Will you protect us? Will you protect and serve the community? Or will you stand by and continue to allow these illegal actions to occur on our streets? Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further public comments on items 7 and 6.
Thank you very much. We will now move to item number 6.2, which deals with a bit of housekeeping by our commission. We have ad hoc committees, and we like to retire them when we can. I want to recognize Commissioner Cooper and the members of the nominating ad hoc committee, which has just completed its business in the execution of our new officer election. Now that the nominating committee has completed its task, do we have a motion to dissolve the ad hoc nominating committee?
I'll move.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion by commissioners on this? Seeing none, do we have any public comment on this item, Ms. Jordan?
There are no public comments on this item.
All right. I think that clears us to proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion to dissolve the ad hoc nominating committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, that has been accomplished. The motion passes unanimously. Now I want to move on to an item that was alluded to by the sheriff, who was here with us in person before his departure. It involves two recent draft agreements that were brought before the Board of Supervisors this past Tuesday, involving their MOUs involving the LASD involvement with the FBI on money laundering and on financial crimes. For the matter of information, just for the public record, under these draft agreements, the Sheriff's Department was due to deploy 11 task force officers to join the FBI in LA County on money laundering, and 3 to join the Southern California Financial Crimes Task Force. The FBI is supposed to reimburse LASD the costs of deputies' overtime. The interagency involvement was to include, but not limited to, seizure of illicit proceeds, arrest and prosecution of international money laundering suspects affecting the county and the economy of LA County, and the disruption and dismantling of money laundering networks to prevent the funding, terrorism, human trafficking, drug trafficking, and other illicit activities. These missions are, of course, very important, but the commission is concerned that the draft agreements lacked an end date, like most MOUs that we typically see in our arrangements, whether public or private. And the purpose of the task force was potentially open to interpretation for broader operations, not just financial crimes. there was language at the start of these documents. Nothing in this agreement should be construed as limiting or impeding the basic spirit of cooperation existing between these agencies. That kind of broad language, especially in the context to which the sheriff was describing in many of our public comments here today about involvement with outside federal agencies have touched on, raised red flags. And the LASD's implicit approval for or prior consent to tactics and activities of an outside federal agency. Both items were on the public safety cluster meeting agenda a few weeks ago, prior to being placed on the on the Board of Supervisors agenda for this past Tuesday. But neither of these two draft agreements was provided directly to the COC by the department before it was placed on the Board of Supervisors July 15th agenda. We did not have the time to wait until today's meeting to take action, so I directed our executive director to draft and submit a letter to the sheriff expressing our concerns about the draft agreements and that it was a matter that the commission should have reviewed and provided feedback to the department. Feedback on the letter was solicited from my fellow vice chair and from former Chair Bonner, and the letter went to the Board of Supervisors on July 14th. That next day, the Board of Supervisors acted to table or to continue both of those items until its July 29th meeting. It's important that the LASD and our commission work together to provide transparency and input both to and from the public about proposed partnerships between the LASD and outside agencies. Before we move forward with any motion, I do just want to ask if there's any comment from commissioners about these two draft agreements and the issues of concern that they raised. Commissioner Giggins.
Yeah, I'm interested to know, since we do not have a practice of monitoring all these different letters of memorandum that any public agency would have. So I'm wondering, what is the context of this? Is it because it has to do with the FBI, it has to do with the climate that we're in right now, that it rose to this level of we have to see it before it goes to the Board of Supervisors?
I think the context was and is significant, and the due diligence of consultation with this commission is an important principle to be elevated, especially in this context. So there were procedural and substantive concerns about the draft agreements. And I think especially at this time where this commission is looking to be an active partner in providing input about the Sheriff's Department operations, we should assert the value of our input in the process before it is brought forward for finalization and for final approval. I think we have a valuable role of input and consultation that shouldn't be sidelined. It shouldn't be left peripheral. We should be able to consider documents that could involve or even entangle the LASD in long-term, open-ended partnerships with other agencies. We should have a chance, even if we waive that chance, we should have that chance to review those directly in advance, to provide meaningful consultation and input. Commissioner Cooper.
Yes, I had a question concerning that. Number one, with the Sheriff's Department having so many openings, can they really free up that type of staff for these federal task force? And number two, I'm concerned that this commission does not have the staff to give adequate time for these MOUs. And I think we should focus our attention on the Deputy Gaines and getting answers to the community concerning their loved ones. I don't want us to overextend ourselves and we don't have the staff.
Points well taken. Are there any other commissioner comments?
I think that I do understand concerns of bandwidth, but I do think that for me, I don't want to see every single MOU, but if we actively ask for information and then the answer is we are not doing that thing, and then we find out 2 weeks later that there's an active MOU being written, I think that that's when the commission should really step forward, because to me, that's disingenuous. So I think that if in those cases, when we're asking for information, we formally do a memorandum to ask for it, and then the memorandum that comes back is that we're not involved in the thing that you're asking about, and then we find out they are, then I think that there should be some type of us to collect information on what does the MOU say, confirm that we're good, and then move on.
Commissioner Callaway raises the point because at our June 26th meeting, I did ask the sheriff on the record, I believe I asked the question about any emerging agreements or draft agreements with outside federal agencies, Federalized National Guard, or federal forces. And there was no affirmative answer about a forthcoming agreement at our June 26th meeting. At a follow-up discussion that we have on a monthly basis with the sheriff, sheriffs and the top brass were asked, are there such agreements with any federal agencies, federal forces, or Federalized National Guard? And there was no direct response or information or documents provided about that. And so in a context like this, I think it's important to signal the interest of this commission in follow through on direct questions like that when there may be responsive documents. And it's important to send a signal that if there is maybe an issue of concern that is flagged in the sheriff's department's review of something that it might believe the commission would like to look at, that we proactively signal that we are here for that consultation in advance. It is unfortunate that given those two requests, even if they didn't necessarily use all the right magic words, that they be responded to, and that we not learn about it from the posted public agenda of the Board of Supervisors, that something in fact is going forward, that there is great interest by the Sheriff's Department in finalizing. So I think this was just an important gesture of showing respect to the commission for our work on input and consultation, and to signal that we should be provided documents that respond to direct requests, even when we might not use the exact magic words. With that, I wanted to ask, are there any public comments on this item, Ms. Jordan?
There are no public comments on this item at this time.
I signed up for it.
Well, with that, I did want to make a motion that if there is any additional action needed on this item, that we direct the executive director, Charmaine Mosley, who helped with Dr. Ochoa in the execution of this letter on July 14th, that I believe did get the Sheriff's Department's attention. It did send a signal of desired consultation and input, and I believe it got the supervisor's attention. But that if we do have any further additional action needed, that we could direct the executive director, Charmaine Mosley, on behalf of the commission to review or take any further action necessary.
Just to clarify, we're talking about this particular.
On these
we're
two
not talking
MOUs.
about other memorandums.
No,
at
only
this
on these
point.
two MOUs, yeah.
Thank you.
Is there a, I'll make the motion. Is there a second on that motion?
I signed up to speak on it.
We'll hear your comment in a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Callaway. Any comment from commissioners? And now public comment on the motion.
We'll call George Bassetti back up again on number 6.
Well, the reason, Mr. Johnson, is because that MOU is dated July 15th. Why, gee, that's what, 2 weeks after you asked him? Now, I don't have a problem with this MOU. And you, Mr. Cooper, you don't know jack about that sheriff's department. They got 18,000 employees. 11 is what? Nothing. These are major issues. In fact, I got a stack here to get you started. Stealing the homeless bond funds. We already got the DOJ in on DC, New York, Chicago, and LA. Y'all happy? Who do I give this to? There's no more free rides, people. I got 50 years into this stuff. I'm 78 today, and this is where I'm spending my birthday, and I'm glad I did, since I listened to these poor people here whose family members been killed, and I witnessed 2 homicides in that jail, and when I went to the grand jury, they told me to go to hell. I got it in print. I got our attorney general saying it's not his job to do his primary job.
Thank you.
Who do I give this to?
Thank you. You can bring your documents over this way.
You really do your job. Happy birthday.
Is there any additional public comment? Hearing none, can we proceed to a vote on the motion? All in favor of the motion, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. With that, I wanted to ask if we might take a break for about 10 minutes. Let's reconvene if we can at 10:50. 10:50. Thank you so much. We'll be in recess until 10:50. strategic plan checklist. Um, It's a summary of completed initiatives and objectives in preparation for a discussion at our September meeting, given that this commission does not have an August meeting. So I'd like to invite the commission's Deputy Executive Director, Dr. Bakila Ochoa, who will provide his summary on the strategic plan checklist. Bakila, take it away. Can we
turn the mic?
Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. I'll keep this brief. So like Chair Johnson said, I've been tasked with giving an update on the commission's 3-year strategic plan. I think this is year 2 now of the plan. And so it's quite a lengthy and I think important plan for the commission. As of now, the commission has completed two of its objectives. One, which will probably be something we do annually, is obviously to evaluate, analyze the department's budget and provide recommendations. We do this with the ad hoc annually. And secondly, through hiring our communications manager, Christina, we've certainly increased the visibility of the commission in the media and community. I think important tasks that the commission has yet to complete, obviously trying to get the board to approve amendments to 3.79. As you all know, that's still in progress, but we're nearly there. As Chair Bonner noted in his farewell, still working with the department to get it to institute an updated policy on deputy clicks. In October of last year, as we all know, the department instituted a policy on deputy gangs, but the commission still urges the department to institute a policy on deputy clicks. And so hopefully that's something this commission can continue to push for soon. My understanding is that that's still in meet and confer. Also, Chair Bonner was, I believe, the chair of the use of force ad hoc committee. And so there's still some work to be done on use of force. Chair Bonner was also, I think, planned to develop a report on discipline of the department. And so the commission needs to determine how to move forward on discipline, that discipline report as well. This is a lengthy document, it's about 10 pages. There's a lot to go through. There'll be a far more in-depth conversation in September. But I think the major point is this commission has set very important targets for itself over a 3-year period. Again, we're in year 2. I think we're close to completing some of the key elements of that plan, but there's a lot more work to be done.
All right. Would the executive director like to add anything to that, or are there any questions by commissioners?
I want to thank Dr. Ochoa for his very detailed summary. It is a lot of information in our strategic plan. We do have a lot of initiatives and objectives. It is a laundry list, and as we're going through, it's going to take some time. There's a lot of focus on the proposed revisions to 3.79. We also have things that happen like out of the blue, like the MOUs that happened last week. So while we do have the strategic plan, we do get sort of like pulled away a little bit from from the plan. So I just wanted to note that, and I look forward to our discussion at the September meeting. Thank you.
I just want to add briefly also, I know, folks in the community come to the commission to share their experiences with LASD and also share their experiences with the complaints process. So under Commissioner Callaway's leadership and the Complaints Ad Hoc Committee, we're working on revising the commission's internal complaints process, also in partnership with the OIG. So that's an important objective to the community, an objective to this commission, and that's the one that we're working on diligently. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just note, we are also planning to streamline our own ad hoc committees with the commission so as to align with the strategic plan. And I think that may see us reduce our ad hocs from somewhere, near 10, maybe cut in half, or something like that in the course of the next couple months. So I welcome any input from you and from other commissioners as we take on that streamlining process, fulfilling a request both of commissioners and I think the obligation to align it with the strategic plan. So thank you so much. Are there any public comments on this presentation or on this agenda item?
There are no public comments on this agenda item.
All right. With that, that's not an action item. It was a report for our benefit. Let's move on, if we can, to item number 7A, and that is the chair's report that is regarding some of our progress on our own revised ordinance for the commission. So as chair, I wanted to provide an update about the work on our ordinance. That is something that we took some further steps at moving forward on that last month. There was a rather revealing and I would say a very good and sometimes even testy meeting on the 4th of June with the Board of Supervisors Justice Deputies who instructed County Council to work with the Commission to draft the proposed revisions for our governing ordinance, specifically maintaining confidentiality of records. Peace officer records that we might gain. To the Commission's dismay, however, that's not what happened. Instead, the County Council notified the Commission that they had already finalized the proposed language and emailed it directly to the board's executive officer, bypassing the Commission. So this cause of concern from the June 4th cluster meeting led to some pushback about much too prescriptive terms being placed in the draft ordinance that did not reflect what was discussed at the cluster meeting. Another cause of concern was that the County Council's proposed language sought to limit the Commission's subpoena authority under Measure R, requiring a new MOU process with the Sheriff's Department. Well, we do know from past and current practice how long it can take to get that kind of MOU approved by the county. So the MOU for ad hoc committee access to confidential information is going on 2 to 3 years in duration. I think this was subject to many editorial comments by not just our former chair, but our former chair, who's no longer a commission member. So we strongly disagreed with that and have asked the board's justice deputies and the executive officer of the county to use the commission's proposed language instead. So meetings are being scheduled with multiple parties here, and we hope to come to an agreement very soon about the language in the proposed ordinance. And we're heartened by the pushback from the supervisor's staff about some of the actions of County Council that did not reflect their instructions. Are there any comments by any other commissioners about that process? Expressions of impatience, expressions of hope, or any input from the executive director about that? Hearing none, is there any public comment about that brief update on our ordinance?
There is no public comment
All
on
right.
this agenda item. We've taken up public comments on number 7.
Okay, with that, I guess it
does fall to me to do just another brief update. I want to keep this very brief. This involves the progress on AB 847. And as a personal statement, I want to thank the stakeholders in this commission's work who did take the considerable time and expense to go to Sacramento last week for a hearing of the State Senate Committee on Public Safety. Many voices heard in this meeting were heard at that meeting in Sacramento. I know personally what a travail it can be, especially in the summer months, to make it up to Sacramento for such gatherings. And I just want to thank you for your efforts to make the voices of Los Angeles County heard in the legislature at that deliberation, and to bring it to bear on on the meeting of that committee on July 8th. So the bill pending in the state legislature to grant oversight commissions in the state of California access to otherwise confidential personnel information, and to investigate misconduct within law enforcement agencies, and to gain those records necessary to conduct such investigations when they involve peace officer personnel records, did clear the state Senate panel on public safety on July 8th. That, of course, followed the approval of the legislation by the Assembly in June. It next goes to a vote on the Senate floor. That has not yet been scheduled, and after Senate passage, it would go to the governor for signing. The legislature concludes its business in September, so there is a deadline over the next 6 weeks for that action. Is there any, I just want to thank the commission members also who have taken part in making their voices as private citizens or attorneys heard on that. And I want to thank those who actually did the work of reaching out to their own legislators about that on a personal note. Any comments from other commissioners about 847? I would just note the virtue of the sheriff's statement. It was noteworthy during the committee proceeding on July 8th that while the sheriff did oppose other legislation, the sheriff of LA County did not oppose 847. It was very clear. It was sometimes, some of those clarities are by omission and by inference, but it was very clear in the course of that docket that this was not legislation that this sheriff opposed. And it was credit to his distinction that he pointed out in his remarks earlier today. Any comments by commissioners? Is there any public comment, Tracy?
Hans.
Oh, excuse me, Commissioner Giggins.
Yeah, I just want to say that so appreciate the leadership of Chair Bonner on this, and our new chair, and Charmaine, our executive director, leading, and obviously the other commissioners. But it's really been an amazing process. You know, these processes are not easy. They're arduous. They are detailed. There's back and forth, and then you've got to get public recognition to weigh in so that that influence goes in the positive direction. And the fact that we've gotten this far, and this is not just about the COC here, this is about in the state of California. So it's a major victory. It's not, we don't have it totally yet, but we're very close. And I just want to appreciate the leadership to persist, and also former chair Sean Kennedy too. So that tight leadership, it shows how staying focused and being smart can work. So thank you.
And consultation strengthens policy. You know, it is really worth noting that at the very beginning stages and throughout this process, consultation with law enforcement groups has strengthened legislation and led dozens of law enforcement organizations to remove their opposition to the bill. It was very clearly stated during the committee hearing, and it is a fact on the record in the analysis that consultation, upfront and enduring, has led to withdrawal of law enforcement opposition to this important reform bill. So kudos to all of those, including our former chair, who have undertaken some of that consultation. Commissioner?
And I didn't mention Bakila's name, who's worked on this. I just want to include everybody who's been very focused. Our Deputy Executive Director.
Thank you. Is there any public comment, Ms. Jordan?
There are no public comments on this item.
Excellent. And with that, I want to move on to another brief report about subpoena enforcement, because I think it's important to keep our stakeholders up to date on the efforts to enforce the 3 subpoenas that this commission issued back in March, which are still hanging in abeyance. And I also want to note, since we weren't able to discuss it at our June meeting, on the very morning of our June 26th meeting, a very important case development occurred, which is germane to this issue, and that the legal case that many of us had been watching, that had been cited by some in the sheriff's department as justification for not complying with the subpoenas. This is the case against Diana Turan, was dismissed by an appeals court here in California. So that case is no longer pending. It has been dismissed. And I think the justifications around the defiance of the subpoenas that was attached to that case and its validity and its pendency have now gone away. So I do want to read a report from the county council retained attorney acting on behalf of this commission. I want to thank that attorney Harv Anand for his work in conjunction with us. And I want to read a brief update provided by Harv for our stakeholders and for fellow commissioners. As everyone knows, Sheriff Luna sued the COC in March. The sheriff told the court he needed clarification on the important issue of whether the LASD must share deputy sheriff's records with the COC, which are protected as confidential under state law. The sheriff filed the lawsuit the day before the LASD was supposed to provide the records the COC subpoenaed. The COC, of course, should receive all records it's subpoenaed, because otherwise the commission cannot effectively oversee the LASD. Denial of information is really denial of oversight. That's what's at stake in this litigation. We believe strongly that the law is on our side. Not surprisingly, 2 LASD unions have filed motions recently asking the court to intervene in the litigation, meaning they want to join the case to affirmatively oppose the COC's right to obtain records. The county's attorneys are analyzing the motions. But first and foremost, the county's attorneys have been diligently working on filing the COC's response to the sheriff's lawsuit and to enforce the COC's subpoenas. We have been told that these matters raise multiple novel and complicated legal issues, and that it takes time to do the proper analysis so the lawyers can present the best case in court for the COC to win on these vitally important issues. As always, the county's attorneys are endeavoring to present the court with compelling legal arguments to achieve the COC's legal goals. Because of the complexity of these issues, the county's attorneys recently asked the court to extend the deadline for the COC to respond to the sheriff's complaint to August 1st, which is the latest they anticipate also filing the action to enforce the COC's subpoenas. We'll update everyone at our next meeting in September. That is the update provided by our counsel. Any comments or questions from my fellow commissioners? Seeing none, I should ask, are there any public comments on this item? Ms. Jordan?
No, we've taken all public comments for item number 7.
Okay.
Not for number 7. You're on number 8.
No, I'm on item number 7, 7A3. Okay. While we resolve that issue, might there be any other public comment on this item? Okay. I want to ask the executive director, anything further to illuminate that item? Okay. All right, to continue with the updates before we receive the much anticipated executive director's report, I do have one last item, and that is an update on item 7A4 of the chair's report, and that's the Employee Relations Commission complaint. The POPA, the Professional Peace Officers Association, and the Association of Los Angeles Sheriff's Deputies have filed a complaint against the commission with the LA County Employee Relations Commission. The union's complaint, the commission has been engaged with bad faith bargaining, failure to negotiate, unilateral implementation in connection with our issuance of document subpoenas in March. They claim the county is bound by injunctions to preserve the status quo while its good faith meet and confer negotiations with unions are continuing, particularly in connection with the commission's investigative subpoena powers. However, the commission's position is that these subpoenas in no way violate the ERCOM order dated November of 2022. This is the only ERCOM order that applies to the commission, and it applies only to subpoenas on ALADS and POPA members. None of these three subpoenas we are seeking to enforce was served on, nor do they involve a failure to appear by any union member before the commission. So I just wanted to clarify that so that if there is any dust up or any failure of clarity about this, that folks understand that we believe these do not apply to our commission and that they are not germane. Any other comment or question from commissioners? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this update?
We now have additional public comments.
All right, let's hear from the public on this item.
We'll start with Raquel.
I see a member of the public
Darfler.
coming forward.
One too many tally marks on that one. So I'll be commenting on your report on the subpoenas. So Raquel Dorfler with Cancel the Contract and also Check the Sheriff Coalition. So I want to urge the commission to push forward with your efforts to enforce your subpoena using our legal system. The Sheriff's Department must not be allowed to continue to refuse to release records in use of force cases. Families have come to this body seeking answers for the harm done to their loved ones at the hands of the Sheriff's Department, an agency that has been tasked with protecting and serving our communities. Mothers like Vanessa Perez deserve to know what happened to her son. How is it that the beating of Joseph Perez was found to be within policy? How can it be that an incident that involved a single individual being struck 121 times did not result in an administrative investigation? Without the Sheriff's Department complying with the Commission's voter-approved subpoena power, no one outside the department can meaningfully review or challenge what had happened to Joseph and other families. Subpoena power is needed to break the cycle of LASD's investigating itself. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have an online public comment from Deanna Brock. Deanna, you have been unmuted.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to encourage you to please continue your efforts with the Sheriff's Department to enforce these subpoenas. You know, my son Emmett Brock was assaulted by a sheriff's deputy in front of a 7-Eleven, and his civil rights were violated. It was turned around. He was accused of all of these different crimes with a $100,000 bail set, which of course was eventually dismissed. But I think what is so important is that there is transparency. The initial use of force investigation, which I have said, they police themselves, said that there was no use of force. But as we know now, a captain, 2 sergeants, and 4 other deputies have been named in the investigation that they also conspired as a cover-up with this situation with my son. So not only was he mistreated, assaulted, falsely accused of crimes, lost his job. It was this video out in the public. He was also outed as a trans man, which I think should be a personal decision as to when you want to do that. And that is also because of the way he was treated at the Norwalk Sheriff's Station in regards to them not knowing the appropriate way to handle a transgender person that was arrested. There was a lot of cover up. These subpoenas need to be pushed because this continues to go on and on, just like we have heard from so many other families. And these deputies need to be held accountable. It just continues and continues. And it's a joke to say they want transparency and they want a better relationship with the community when they are still trying to hold back on this information that should be public.
Thank you. There are no further public comments on this item.
And I just want to thank the family members and stakeholders who take the time both to call in and especially to be present when possible here. We do deeply appreciate the sacrifice of time and energy that it takes to be here, as well as to talk about some of the most difficult and traumatizing experiences of your lives and those of your family members. Thank you for being that part of active witness before this commission so that we can do our job in good conscience and with impact. With that, I want to thank the executive director for being here and for the work of continuing the staff and welcoming back some new staff recently. And I turn it over to Charmaine Mosley for the executive director's report.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. And I said that very deliberately because I didn't want to call you Chair Bonner, which I might do by accident. So before I begin my update, I wanted to acknowledge and thank the nominating ad hoc committee, especially Commissioner Cooper, for leading that committee and making sure that we have a professional and fair process when it comes to our elections to select commission officers. I also want to congratulate and thank Chair Johnson, as well as Vice Chairs Garcia and Callaway for stepping up with zest to lead this commission forward. You all have difficult roles, but we will continue to work together to ensure a smooth transition and pathway forward. Lastly, a huge thank you, and I didn't get a chance to say this because I wasn't unfortunately at the last meeting, but thank you to former Chair Rob Bonner for his leadership and time served on this commission for 9 years. 9 years is a long time to be doing this work. It is never easy when elections take place and leadership changes, but I'm confident that we will continue to work towards the necessary goals to reflect the purpose and intent of this commission. Looking forward, we will be facing county curtailments due to the budget deficits, which will most definitely have an impact on the operations of this commission. So we will need to identify ways that we can be more efficient with less. That might mean shifting the way our ad hoc committees, which we've been looking at, trying to reduce the number of ad hoc committees, but looking at the ways that they operate, as well as the work that the staff analysts do for the ad hoc committees, identifying and focusing only on high priority objectives. We just went over briefly our strategic plan. So while understanding that things might come up along the way, training commissioners and staff on LASD policies and procedures and how to navigate LASD's website, which is kind of difficult sometimes, trying to find things on the website. And I believe that it should lessen the number of written requests for non-confidential information, which Sheriff Luna speaks of a lot. And lastly, develop our own procedures and become familiar with our ordinance as we're changing it or trying to change it, bylaws, etc. So while this may seem like it's a lot, we must continue to pivot in order to meet the mission of the commission so that we are listening to the members of the public. So now I have a few items to update on. First of all is the training. That's always my first item. I think we have made some progress on commissioners' access to county mandatory trainings. Commissioners were provided with instructions on how to log in, passwords, etc. So trainings can be accessed from anywhere and on any device. Some commissioners, there were a few problems. Some commissioners were able to log in and complete some of the trainings. Some were locked out of the system. Some were held up. I guess the system was frozen. Some were looped around. So there were a lot of issues as commissioners that are on the outside of the county with being able to fulfill the mandatory trainings obligation. Sometimes the system saves where you left off in the training, so it's okay to log out if you run into those issues and then log back in. If you don't access the training over a certain time period, a new password would be required for security purposes. So to me, I feel that it's important to log in at least twice a month. The most recent training is cybersecurity and privacy awareness, which is now past due. The next technology update for emails and trainings is commissioner access to the county emails. And then I'm going to turn over to Vice Chair Garcia to add some comments to his experience. Commissioners have been assigned county emails for some time, but based on feedback, commissioners have been having issues with security features because they are outside. They don't have county issue laptops. They use their own. Laptops and computers. I think the problem has been solved, but I'm not sure yet. Starlet has sent instructions on how to access the county's virtual desktop. She also sent an email with all of the commissioners' emails, just in case you don't have that information. And I encourage everyone to try to access your email following the instructions, and let me know as soon as possible if you run into any issues. Also, you were provided with the county service desk direct number. I know that there were issues contacting the contact person that Tracy, our staff person, recommended. So, but we do have a direct number now. So in order for this commission to be able to gain access to confidential information, county procedures and guidelines, such as the use of county emails, will need to be followed. Commissioners will no longer be able to use their personal devices to access confidential information. And this is like down thinking, in the future, as we're looking at proposed revisions to 3.79. So please know that these are the best practices for oversight bodies that are currently accessing confidential information from law enforcement. So I just want us to be prepared as we are looking forward to what happens with proposed revisions to 3.79. And I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Garcia to share his experience. Commissioner.
Thank you, Charmaine. Yeah, the experience, so we're volunteers, and getting access into this county email has been quite the process. I think probably if I estimate the time spent trying to get in, which yesterday was the first time I was finally able to access it has to be at least about 10 hours. Basically what has to be done is we're provided this COC.LA.county.gov email, and on our personal desktop, laptop, or iPad or Surface, or whatever you're using, you have to go through this authentication process. And this authentication process it's complicated. And so you have to go in and type in the password that the county issues to you. And then you have to download the Authenticator app on your phone. And when you type in the password, then there's a number that comes up on the screen, and then you need to authenticate it on your phone. And then once you go through that, you're entering into this virtual desktop environment. And so it's kind of like you're going through a trapdoor, through a trapdoor, through a trapdoor. And then now you're in this virtual desktop environment, and you have the Microsoft Office applications. And yesterday, I got into that space, and when I tried to do Outlook, I was getting this message, and so the support service desk found out that I didn't have the license. So it took them about an hour, and they granted the access to the license to the Microsoft Office software, and I was able to finally get in and send in a test email to COC staff. So I tried it on my laptop, on my iPad, forget about it. It's I got in, but you have to use your finger to use the cursor, so it's a little complicated. It was better on the PC. Which brought me to share with Charmaine that, I think in order to, it's a complicated process, and I think having a county issued laptop would, well, the support desk, service desk said basically that would, wipe away all of this having to go through these, security protocols each time. And then at the second, as a volunteer, we have to figure out like a time to check the emails now moving forward if, the process is going to be, everything being sent directly to our COC email. So nevertheless, I do want to give credit to the service desk because they were very helpful, and there's a whole lot of different pieces to this puzzle. But for the other commissioners who have not, accessed, feel free to reach out if you have any problems.
And thank you, Vice Chair Garcia. This is one of the ongoing conversations I've been having with the executive office regarding commissioners' access to training. It's very difficult, and now commissioners' access to emails. And after a while, the amount of time it takes to try to figure that out, people give up. I mean, I'll probably give up as well. So, that's also one of the reasons why, when it comes to the proposed revisions of 3.79, I made the comment at the June 4th Public Safety Cluster meeting that the ordinance should be very high level. It shouldn't be prescriptive as far as including emails and things like that. We have to come up with our own separate procedures in addition to the ordinance to implement the ordinance because of issues like this, right? So I just wanted to add that. And the next item is on my list is the commission self-evaluation. This is something that I mentioned previously. It is on my radar that we have to complete the self-evaluation. The last one that was done was in 2020. Now that there's budget constraints and we didn't make this request in our previous budget item requests, so our hands might be tied when it comes to this, but it is something that is in the ordinance for us to complete. So that is still on my radar. Next is the annual report that was actually approved by the commission at the June meeting, and it was forwarded to the supervisors for filing and posted to our website. So our comms manager already started to begin the drafting of the report for this year so that we're timely in 2026. And then our community meetings and events. So we continue to be very active with community and LASD when it comes to meetings that are public facing and events as well. So since last month's meeting, we held a listening session on deputy gangs with an attendance of 65 attendees. We also received at least 190 responses to the online survey regarding deputy gangs. Staff also attended CAC meetings in East LA, which has a new captain, Shawnee Hinchman, and also Lakewood. Staff will attend upcoming CAC meetings on July 21st at Marina Del Rey, at the Marina Del Rey station, as well as on July 30th at Century Station. Yesterday, our Deputy Executive Director, Dr. Ochoa, presented an update at commission activities to our Public Safety Cluster Committee. We update the committee on a monthly basis. It meets weekly on Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m. to discuss items that may go on an upcoming Board of Supervisors meeting agenda. We will send the cluster meeting agenda to our commissioners and try to flag those items of interest, but I encourage our commissioners to also review the agenda. I wanted to thank Commissioner Cooper for also attending yesterday's Public Safety Cluster meeting. I don't know if she has anything that she wanted to add, but JCIT was also presenting. It's echo. It's okay. Commissioner Cooper?
Yes, I found this meeting very, very interesting. I am the chair of the ad hoc committee on jails. So jails being on the agenda was very, very interesting to me. I had some concerns, and again, I had to obey the instructions and make comments and not ask questions. But I had real concerns about the delays and repeating of work on the jails. Either we're gonna build a new jail or we're gonna, decrease the jail population. But I think listening to that conversation, I just felt the harm that are done to the inmates presently is not really considered. We've been talking about this subject for years, and it appears as though we keep going over the same information and nothing is really happening. We have the Civil Brand Commission going into the jails, and those conditions have not improved. So the people that are getting hurt are the inmates that are in these systems. And it's time that we take care of business and not just repeat over and over and over the same information that we already know. So I am hoping that the new commission or whatever they're calling themselves really take a hard look at what they're doing and the outcomes that people are still suffering while they're going over data that we already know, and really do something about the conditions of the jails. That building is unsafe for the inmates, and it's unsafe for the staff that works there too. So it's time that we take action and not just keep saying over and over what we already know. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooper. Staff is also going to be attending a tour of Twin Towers on July 22nd. I think that's the date, with OIG staff. So if you have any commissioners that would like to attend, please let Robert know. We were also invited to attend the graduation of LASD's custody assistants that will take place on August 1st. And the graduation for LASD's graduating, actually LASD's Academy Class 482 is going to be taking place this evening. Also on August 5th, we will attend the 2025 National Night Out at Full Gospel Baptist Church. And we are also planning a virtual town hall / community meeting regarding immigration, law enforcement, and federal agencies, and that's scheduled to take place on July 31st, tentatively. So we're looking forward to that. And lastly, on my last item bullet is update on commission staff and commission vacancy, as well as the NACO conference. We still have a senior staff analyst position vacancy to fill, but everything has been moving slowly due to the budget constraints and the executive officer and the CEO looking at, curtailments that the county is going to be faced with. But on a brighter side, we are excited to share that we hired 2 new interns for this summer, and we have Ikra and Priscilla. Please stand or raise your hands. We appreciate y'all so much for wanting to intern. I hope y'all have an opportunity to learn a lot from our office and our commission as far as civilian oversight of law enforcement. So thank you. We still have a vacancy on the commission, and earlier this week, the interview ad hoc panel met to go through the applications. We received at least 15 applications, and I believe that the panel would like to reopen the application process to look for a larger pool of candidates so that we're fair and doing a great job. Since a few of the 15 did not also meet the minimum requirements, I encourage anyone who's applying to actually fill out the entire application and submit resumes and statements, please, because we are looking at everything. This year's NACO conference is being held in Minneapolis in October. As previously reported, we will need to limit the number of commissioners and staff who might be able to attend. I would need to seek approval from the EO and the CEO as far as us traveling, and also the cost. And it's going to cost around $2,500 per traveler. However, the benefit for attending the conference is the wealth of knowledge and information in civilian oversight of law enforcement, jails, as well as corrections that you gain from attending this conference. The conference runs simultaneous sessions from morning until the evening, and even after the sessions are over, you're still networking with everyone. So it is a huge benefit to the county to send commissioners and staff as a training opportunity, and as well as to be able to identify best practices in civilian oversight of law enforcement. And that completes my report. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Charmaine. Are there any questions from commissioners about the lengthy report and activities of the director and staff? Is there any public comment, Ms. Jordan?
We have one online public comment from George Newhouse. George, you have been unmuted.
I have no comment, so that the commissions could work.
Thank you. No additional public comments on this item.
Okay, with that, I think it is time to turn to an update from the Office of Inspector General. And I see Dara Williams here representing the office. Would you like to update us on any recent activities?
Sure. Well, first of all, I just want to mention something in response to the sheriff's comments today. First of all, he did say that, his office regularly engages with us, and it's true, especially with the the custody command staff and the people at all levels of custody. There is regular engagement, and whether or not there's progress is another story, but there is in fact regular engagement. With respect to a lot of our requests, they do get funneled through the Office of Constitutional Policing, and that's mentioned in the letter that discusses rollouts. And in particular, we served a subpoena in October of last year, and we are still waiting for documents and answers in response to a subpoena served in October of last year, with some promises in April that we would get information, and we don't have all the information as of yet, or at least an answer that some of the things that we're seeking they can't find or they don't exist as far as they know. So it is a painfully slow process, and that's not one of the subpoenas for which there's litigation. There are two other subpoena duces tecums for which there is litigation, and we are in meet and confer still with regard to the ERCON complaint and also in regard to the litigation over those subpoena duces tecum. When our requests go to the Office of Constitutional Policing, we engage with essentially one person there, and we're directed to that person. But at the highest levels of the Office of Constitutional Policing, there's no engagement with the Office of Inspector General. There's not. We don't have any information at all about any of our recommendations. We don't have any feedback from them about any of our recommendations. So when there's a comment that there's engagement, the engagement really is responding to our requests. But I mean, for instance, in March, after the sheriff was elected, we had a meeting with the Office of Constitutional Policing about what's commonly referred to as a pretext stop report that we wrote. It's really not a pretext stop. They're really crime suppression stops. And it was a very positive meeting, and we were told that the Sheriff's Department was very interested in implementing policies. And so to date, nothing's been done, right? So these are the types of communications that we have. They're pleasant communications. Nobody's getting into arguments when we communicate with them, but nothing's changed. And there is a lack of engagement with the highest levels of the Office of Constitutional Policing. So I just wanted to make that clear, because I don't think it's really fair to say that there's engagement. That being said, with regard to the rollouts, I would also like to state that at the last meeting, I pointed to a number of examples where we were denied access to a crime scene, some of which were me in particular, and I pushed back. And Commander Dean was actually at one of them, and he was a homicide detective at the time. And we were initially denied access until I called Assistant Sheriff Brendan Corbett. Now, to be fair, that was under a prior administration. I'd have to look for this administration to see if there was more than one. But in our letter, we raised just the latest one. I think it's important to know that the law allows us to gain access as long as we don't obstruct an investigation. I think that everyone here knows that the members of the Office of Inspector General staff are competent and professional enough not to destroy evidence. And if the district attorney's office personnel are able to go through and not destroy evidence, I think that there should be the same expectation of the people in our office, some of whom are former prosecutors or defense attorneys. So I don't think it's fair to say that we were excluded because of the concern for the evidence. And on the particular case where I was the person there who was excluded, there was a narrow hallway, but the actual incident took place in a bedroom. So I don't know why we couldn't have walked down that narrow hallway to just view into the bedroom. And also, we don't get to these shootings until hours after they happen. This morning, there was a shooting at 2. I got the call at 5 a.m. Once we get to the scene, we spend usually a minimum of an hour or 2 waiting, and that's to get the homicide briefing and to take us into the crime scene. So, most of the processing has likely been done by the time that we get there as far as evidence collection and whatnot. So I don't want to give the impression that by us going to these rollouts that there's really any meaningful investigation by us at the scene, because the entire thing is controlled by the homicide detectives and the briefing. So all the information we get from the detectives, that's the only information that we get is directly from the sheriff's department. So if we are not being permitted access to the crime scene, it just sort of makes the whole thing not really, we did a cost benefit analysis essentially of going out there. And we don't want to give the public the misimpression that this is actually effective oversight, because it's not actually effective oversight for us to go out there and get a briefing from the homicide detectives. And then even if it's rare for us to be denied access, it's happened more than once, and it's happened. I got information from our in-custody death team. It's happened on in-custody deaths and deputy-involved shootings. And the incident where I referred to with Commander Dean was actually an in-custody death. And that was also me. So like the COC, we're getting positions curtailed. And that makes our staff, means that there's fewer staff members who can go to these. When we put people on call, we have to give people comp time for being on call. So that means that more staff take vacations, and with fewer staff and staff going on a number of vacations because they have the days, and there's rules about having to use that comp time within a certain period of time. It just, when you look at all of it all together, it is just not cost effective for us to do that. Our letter also talks about, what we do have access to, and we do have access to body-worn camera video, and we do attend critical incident review, and then years later, executive force review, which that usually doesn't happen for at least a couple of years. So I'm not in any way claiming that we're not part of the process, but we're part of a process where the information is provided to us by the Sheriff's Department. So.
Thank you. And before Commissioner Hicks. Oh, no, excuse me, Commissioner Gickens.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question. What would you be doing, or one of your inspectors would be doing, similar or different when you get to the scene? You said you're briefed, often you're there a little bit later and then you're briefed. So if you were there sooner, what would that look like? What would you be looking for? Who you'd be talking to? What would be going on?
I mean, to be fair, we've never pushed getting there sooner. We've essentially allowed for this to
Okay.
happen, and it is important that we don't obstruct the investigation.
Right.
We would never talk to any of the witnesses. That's an investigative function for the sheriff's department. At that point in time, it's a criminal investigation, and only the sheriff's department, the district attorney's office, or the state office of the Department of Justice are permitted to do criminal investigations. So we would not speak to anybody. We are not present for witness interviews. I do believe we could be present for witness interviews. There are certain limitations due to the police officer's Bill of Rights that might impact that. But one of the things we would look for if we were able to get there sooner, which, by the way, I mean, just the whole process and getting there and everything else, I don't even know that we could get there quickly enough to do this. But one of the public comments last time was about huddling, right? Which is deputies speaking together to talk about what happened, right? So if we were able to get there in time, we would be able to see if deputies were talking together prior to being interviewed by homicide investigators. I'm not going to, it would be really difficult for us to get there that soon based on the notification system. We would literally have to be called by on-scene commanders to be able to get there in that period of time. And it would obviously depend on.
So that's not really an issue.
I would say that it would be very difficult for us to do that unless, we had somebody on call follow, that was, following them
So when
around.
you get there, what do you do?
When we get there, we wait usually with the Internal Affairs Bureau guys. There's usually it's civil litigation, training, Internal Affairs Bureau, and OIG, which essentially were the administrative investigation
So
type
all those
arm.
folks are called.
We're all
notified,
called.
Notified.
We're all notified.
Show up.
Yes.
And you're there. What would be the word? I'm feeling observers. Is that what you're doing? You're observing?
Well, we're at the command post, so we're not observing anything because we're at the
Oh.
command post for 1 to 2 hours before the homicide team takes us to the scene and then briefs us on what happened. And part of it is that they always have to wait for everyone to get there, including the district attorney's office, right? So all these people are coming from all over the county, or some people live outside the county. So they wait for everybody to get there, and then homicide investigators do their initial interviews of the thing. It's like a public safety type interview, like where they go and talk to the deputies, and then they give us a briefing as to sort of, what they were told happened. They don't attribute statements to particular individuals because it's a criminal investigation, and so these people all have rights against self-incrimination, right? So, which is not to say that there was necessarily a criminal act, obviously, right? But we know there was a shooting, so we know that it was, somebody killed somebody or somebody injured somebody. And so the people who engaged in that conduct may have had the right to self-defense, but nevertheless, homicide is conducting a criminal investigation. So they don't tell us this particular deputy said this particular deputy said that. They give us a general overview of what happened. And then that's supplemented usually within a week or two at a critical incident review where they give us more information, and usually they show the body-worn camera video, and they give more evidence. And the acting captain of homicide, I don't know if he's been subsequently made a captain, so I apologize if you are, and Commander Dean are both here. So you could also direct any questions to them, or they can correct me if I got anything wrong. But that's pretty much how it goes. And obviously, Assistant Sheriff Skeen is their boss, and so he's here as well. So they're all very familiar with the process. So it becomes is it effective for us to go out there? I know the public would like us to go out there, and there are reasons why I do think we should go out there. But I think you also have to look at the whole analysis of the cost and the benefit of it, And at this point, given all of the things that were stated in our letter, which are part of the agenda here today, this is why we made the decision now. If something changes, we will revisit the decision.
So just one more question, sorry, this is very informative. When you reconvene, then you say a week later to, what do you call that? Is that incident review? What do you call
Critical
that?
incident
Critical
review.
And so does DA come, everybody?
The
who is
DA does
there?
not come to
Who's
that
at that
usually.
one? Who's at that?
A lot of people.
Okay.
They would be better able to answer
Okay.
exactly who's there, but the homicide investigators present. Does IAB go to that? IAB is there, training. So I think all the same,
Okay.
the usual
But not the
suspects
DA.
that are at the crime scene are due, but not the DA's office, as far as I know, doesn't do that. But the DA's office sits in on some or all of the interviews. And so the DA's office has a lot more information because they sit in on some of the interviews, but they would be better, the sheriff's department would be better able to answer exactly what the DA's office does, because we aren't there at that point.
But you still go to those, and you're still going to those.
To the critical incident
Yes,
review,
right,
yes,
okay.
yes, and we still are able to review body worn camera.
Okay.
And so we do review body worn camera, but we actually have an agreement with the sheriff's department that will wait till after the critical incident review. So the executive staff has access to the body worn camera before the critical incident review. But we made an agreement with them that we wouldn't have our regular staff review it because we don't want people chattering with people at the sheriff's department to in any way affect their criminal investigation. So we agree that we won't look at the body worn camera. Our executive staff can, and one person I think does. But generally speaking, then the rest of our people don't have access until after the critical incident review. So it was that the person who rolled out was assigned to go to that. Now I just have it on a rotating basis where we have inspectors and deputy inspector generals that, well, it's actually deputies inspector general, that are assigned to go to the critical incident review.
Thank you for that.
Before Commissioner Hicks has to leave, I did just want to pick up on his earlier question in our meeting today, relevant to this report and the concerns that you're raising. Now, obviously, process is there as a safeguard. Process is there as a transparency protector and the public trust protector. I did just want to ask, given the concerns you're raising, is there any case that has come to your attention where you believe either the compromising of that ability to access the site or access the information about an in-custody death that involves anything that you would want to raise a question with us about? Because we count on you in part as eyes and ears in the community and in these high value and very troubling cases of fatalities and deaths. So is there any specific instance that you think really where something might have been missed, or where your presence or lack of presence there, your inability to access something is something that you want to draw to our attention?
Well, I mean, the thing with in-custody deaths, so I should have mentioned this. So in-custody deaths have a different process than critical incident. They have something called death review. And it's actually, there's, hopefully I'll get this right. There's a 24-hour, 7-day, and 30-day, I think, death review. And the CHS, so the Correctional Health Services, is involved in that. And so there's a medical aspect to it. They obviously get an autopsy report at some point in time. And then the sheriff's department's also involved in that. And we go to all of those things. The problem with lack of access is you don't know what you don't know. So that's always the problem, right? Do I think it's better for us to get the information that IAB gets right when we're there? I mean, I will say this, there was one particular instance where I went to, I don't know why it keeps happening to me, but I went to a scene where they were not sure if it was an intentional shooting or a negligent discharge. And at the scene, we were told it was intentional, But then I got a follow-up call that it wasn't intentional, that it was a negligent discharge, right? Accidental discharge of a gun, right? And then I called IAB and they hadn't been given that information. And so there was not, a critical incident review wasn't scheduled because they don't have critical incident reviews of accidental discharges. But I actually pushed for a critical incident review because I didn't think it was right that all of us left the scene with an impression that it was an intentional discharge, and it was in fact a negligent, or I should say, the evidence showed that it was a negligent discharge, right? And to be fair, I pushed for it and they had one. So, that's just an instance where being on the scene did make a difference, because then we got different information. And I don't think I would have gotten that different information if I hadn't been on the scene and asked questions, right?
How long ago was that case?
I think it was in the last year, because I'm not regularly scheduled to go on rollouts. So when I go, it's usually because I'm filling in for somebody else. And so I think it was definitely this administration, because Commander Rodney Moore was in the Office of Constitutional Policing, and he was the person who was running critical incident review. And so, so I would say the past year and a half. So
Thank you.
It was this administration.
I want to give Commissioner Harris an opportunity.
Yeah, just a quick question. You mentioned that accidental discharges, those do not go for further review. How about non-hit shootings? They take the
About
same
what?
non-hit shootings. Do they take the same review as a hit shooting, or are they also not reviewed?
I should know the answer to this, shouldn't I?
I bet these guys over here know the answer to that.
I don't think they don't go to the DA's office for a reject. That I know.
Well, that makes sense.
But does it though? If I shot at somebody and I missed, would that go to the DA's office? I think it would. So look, I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't go to the DA's office.
I just want to know the answer to the question.
Yeah.
Are non-hit shootings, do non-hit shootings go to?
Yes. No, so non-hits don't go.
So non-hits don't go, and accidental discharges don't go.
So critical incident reviews, non-hit shootings, Internal Affairs Bureau conducts.
Right.
Right, but it does not go to a critical incident
Right.
review.
Can
IAB
we
looks
have
at it.
the LASD personnel that's speaking go to the podium, please?
Yeah, there was just this morning's shooting was a non-hit, and
Right.
IAB will investigate it. So.
Right.
So my name is Art Spencer. I'm the acting captain of Sheriff's Homicide Bureau.
Okay.
And to answer your question, on a non-hit deputy-involved shooting, you're asking if there's a critical incident review, correct?
Right.
So yes, there is a critical incident review that's handled by the Internal Affairs Bureau.
Okay, so it is not, my point, what I'm trying to get at is there's a certain level of review that is conducted for hit shootings, correct?
Correct.
That same level of review is not conducted for non-hit shootings or accidental discharges. Is that correct?
Are you referring to administrative review?
I'm saying the level of review for hit shootings is at a certain level, way up here.
That's correct.
Is it the same level for non-hits?
It is not, because you also have
Thank
Jason
you.
involved.
That's what I'm
Right.
trying to get at. Sometimes it's good to know the answer to the question before you ask it. It's the same thing for accidental discharges, correct?
Unintentional discharges, correct.
Got it. Thank you. I really think this might be an area of policy that the department might want to look at. Is anytime a bullet goes down the barrel of a deputy sheriff's gun, we ought to be having a pretty thorough review. And I know this would be different than what has been past practice. Accidental discharges, I see that's a little different, but even so, wouldn't be a bad idea. And particularly on well, maybe there is. What's the confusion?
Thank you.
Here
we go.
I think we're good now.
We're going to get there.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I think it was commented earlier that unintentional discharges don't go to CIR. And CIR is a critical incident review that is done on the preliminary basis. It's discovery of basic information. It is not to adjudicate. The premise of a CIR is to find out if there's a systemic problem in the organization that can be corrected right then and there so that it doesn't perpetuate while it goes through its legal and its administrative process through the district attorney's office, the attorney general's office, and then through our own administration, because we do acknowledge it can take a length of time to get all those facts straight.
Right.
So CIR's premise is, hey, do we need to change a policy? Do we need to change training? We've had unintentional discharges go before CIR, and we've said, hey, maybe we need to look at like the deputies' holsters, things of that nature that we need to modify. And in fact, we have modified holsters as a result of CIR process. So it does show you that unintentional discharges do in fact go in front of the CIR panel on a case-by-case basis. The majority of the time, in fact, you do see that. And we also then, as Ms. Williams pointed out, all get to view body-worn camera at that same time as well too.
Okay, I appreciate the clarification on that. I guess my concern is with even non-hit shootings, because the only difference between a non-hit shooting and a hit shooting is marksmanship, to put it quite bluntly. And so if you have enough justification to shoot at somebody, even if you miss them, that should be reviewed at the highest level of the department. And I don't believe right now that is the case, never has been. This is nothing unusual in that this is some new occurrence. But I'm just thinking, frankly, we might want to consider that.
We still
going
have the
forward.
executive force review process that still takes place. And obviously it's down the road, but it does get to it to make sure that shootings are in fact justified or unjustified. So when we get into deadly force applications, that's where EFRC steps in. And then we obviously have force cases that go before that panel that are not shooting related, but nonetheless violate department policy or rise to a certain level, such as head strikes, things of that nature.
But a non-hit shooting does not go to that level, correct?
It actually does.
Well, then, okay, then I guess I'm mistaken. So you're telling me that a non-hit shooting is reviewed at the same level as a hit shooting?
Yes.
And with the assistant
And
sheriff's
I mean,
permission, the commander also would like to add some points too as well.
Love to hear what he has to say.
Just to clarify, so like the assistant sheriff said, any case where a department discharges their firearm, whether hit or non-hit, are reviewed by the Executive Force Review Committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I was trying to get at.
That's
I
the
think we
answer.
finally got there. Thank you for the
Yes.
clarification.
Anytime somebody discharges their firearm at a member of the public, that case goes before EFRC, whether it hits the individual or not.
Okay. Then the distinction that's made here on an unintentional is handled differently because there wasn't the intent to fire it at a human being. It just happened.
Yeah. Unintentional discharges do not typically go in front of executive force review unless someone is struck.
Gotcha.
Someone can be
That's a whole
struck,
different deal.
and then it would go in front of
That's a whole
EFRC.
different deal.
And then keep in mind at a bare minimum, it goes through an administrative level review as well too.
And
Or
I just
potential
want to note, thank you. Thank you for that, that this shows the value of the OIG's work and your reporting here with us today. So thank you for helping to disembed this and get this on the record. And thank you, commissioners, for asking follow-up questions. We did
And
not.
I did know it went to EFRC, just in case anybody was concerned about that.
Thank you. Would you like to conclude?
The only thing I would say, so the only difference really then is that homicide investigates one and IAB investigates the other. So, no, I mean, at this point, we don't intend to resume our rollouts. But as I said, that, there are a number of factors at play here, including the curtailment of our staff and, the sheriff's, an acknowledgement that, we could be professional enough not to destroy evidence, I think is something that would reassure us and members of the public that this won't happen again.
Sorry, I have.
All right, Commissioner Callaway.
So I just want to know, I'm prior military, and so acronyms are the way of life, but I got lost in it. So is the same scrutiny done for each situation? That's what I think that would make it clear for me. Is the same scrutiny of an investigation done when the bullet leaves the gun, whether it hits someone or not?
I think you have to be, so I think part of the problem is we're saying the same scrutiny because they go through the same process, but I would say that homicide investigating something, which is a criminal investigation, is different than IAB investigating something, which is an administrative investigation.
Copy.
So I would say that that's a different level of scrutiny
Yeah.
because IAB is not necessarily looking for a crime.
Copy.
And I just have to say, when I was a DA once, a judge got really mad because we set the bail on a case based on the fact that it was a murder. And in fact, it was an attempted murder. And when the judge got mad at me for that, I said it wasn't for lack of trying. So the thing is that when the deputies shoot at somebody, they are actually trying to hit the person, right? I mean, and I'm not saying that's not justified because in almost every instance, it's found to be justified. But they are shooting a gun and the intention is to hit the person.
Copy.
So it's the same process. It goes to CIR and it eventually goes to executive force review, right? But it's not the same level of scrutiny if homicide is investigating one and IAB is investigating the other. I would say it's not the same level of scrutiny. The department might disagree and they might say, no, it's the same level of scrutiny, but it is two different types of investigation.
Yeah, two different workflows. And then completely understand. It just makes it easier to ask the question if we want further clarification later. The second question that I have is, and you don't have to have the answer for this right now, but I would like to know whether, if you know now or tell us later, what is the explicit thing that the OIG is looking for in order to start the same rollout process that has been suspended?
I think it would have to be the sheriff's department's assurance that they would not exclude us from any crime scenes in the future. But it would also have to be that we're not getting curtailed staff because we have quite a few open positions and we're not being allowed to fill any of them right now. And those are positions where people would roll to either in custody desk or to deputy involved shooting.
So a release memorandum and then also staffing. Like they have to say it overtly or like, is it just a meeting or like?
I mean, I'd have to talk to the
Copy.
Inspector General to actually get a confirmation on what it would take, but it would definitely be that, you know, I think the bottom line is we don't want to mislead the public is that to give them the idea that this is actually effective oversight. Because once again, we're just getting the information from the department. But I've talked specifically about things that can't be changed, right? It's not the department's fault that, you know, we can't be there 15 minutes after the shooting. That's just physically impossible. That's not due to any obstruction or anything by the department. That's just a limitation on how fast the information gets out and how fast somebody can get there. There's absolutely nothing that they can do about that. I mean, to be fair, I don't think homicide can get there to figure out if people are huddling because they physically aren't there either. So that you have to depend on people that are immediately on scene to prevent that from happening. And I'm hopeful that they are preventing that from happening. Certainly their policies and procedures and everything else are very, very clear on all of these
Okay,
things.
before we move on, I just want to ask, can that request be made here, that memo be sent to the OIG?
I mean, I don't want to promise something that, you know, I am not the Inspector General. And so I don't want to promise something that, you know, that he's not in agreement with. And so, I mean, I think no matter what, we're still at the point where is it really effective for us to be rolling out, given that the information we get at the scene is controlled. But that being said, I personally think that if the Inspector General thought that would be sufficient, that I can speak to Assistant Sheriff Skeen about it. He's always very open to discussion.
And you would welcome a memo like that regardless of how it might be acted upon or what it might be able or not be able to unleash in terms of response. You would welcome such a memo.
I would
Yes.
welcome such a
Okay.
memo, and I would welcome a higher level engagement by people at the highest levels of the Office of Constitutional Policing as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Harris, before we move
Yeah,
on.
and I know we need to move off of this, but just so I'm clear, homicide is the investigative body for hit shootings. Is homicide the investigative body for non-hit shootings?
No.
Okay,
That's-
that also might help clarify this. So if someone gets hit, homicide has got the handle.
Correct.
If we intentionally shoot at someone, but miss, homicide is not the investigative unit. It would
Correct.
be the,
Internal affairs.
okay, well,
Bureau.
it wouldn't be handled even by station detectives because you still have an assault with a deadly weapon. No, maybe we are. I'm trying to be clear on it.
And I think this is where the confusion is. So what you're talking about is who's handling it. There's a criminal prosecution and administrative, right?
Right.
So if somebody a deputy sheriff shoots at somebody, there's still a criminal proceedings, right? What led them to shoot at somebody?
Whether
Right?
they're
Were they
hit or
shot
not.
at first? Were they a suspect of a crime?
Right.
So that's going to be handled by either the whatever station it occurred, station's detective, or
Right.
possibly our Operation Safe Streets,
Uh-huh.
right? They will handle the criminal portion. IA will then handle the administrative portion.
And you're speaking now if they aren't hit.
Correct.
But if they're
If
hit,
they're hit, it's a homicide.
you guys handle it.
Yes.
That's
And
all I'm
IA
trying to make
still
clear
handles the
here for this
administrative
body,
portion.
because there's a lot of stuff bouncing around here. So if an individual is shot by a deputy sheriff, sheriff's homicide is the handling investigatory body of the sheriff's department.
Correct.
If a deputy sheriff intentionally shoots at someone but misses, it would still be investigated criminally, but not by homicide. It might be by the station. It might be by OSS. It might be, it'd still be handled. There'd still be a criminal investigation.
Of course.
But
Yes.
not at the homicide.
Yes,
Of
level.
course.
And I just want to add just one thing.
All right.
On a hit shooting, if it's an AV 1506 qualified event, then the California Department of Justice takes.
Okay, and not everyone here is conversant in AD 1506. So what is that?
That is when an unarmed person is struck and killed.
Gotcha. Thank you for laying that out. When an unarmed person is struck, then it's the Attorney General that handles that investigation. Gotcha. I'm clear.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that concludes a very robust discussion. And thank you, Ms. Williams, for your willingness to talk it through and to help get that on the record. I think you've also revealed to us an opportunity for training of commissioners and something where we can do some further work to buttress your work and to highlight the work in the department so that we are more accurately aware of the procedures in the department around different kinds of shootings. With that, I want to move to brief reports by our ad hoc committees. And I want to take it out of order just a little bit here. I want to ask if Commissioner Cooper might be prepared to speak about the jail staffing ad hoc committee.
Yes. The newly civil grand jury report for the fiscal year 24-25 included recommendations for the commission to help facilitate tours of the county jails. And this report is attached to the agenda. Basically, the recommendation was for us to work with LASD in terms of facilitating public tours and to emphasize their benefit. And basically what we're going to do is ask LASD, what is it that we can do to assist them in meeting this recommendation? So we did send them a letter and we're waiting for their response.
All right, thank you. And I also want to raise the complaints ad hoc committee, which has been working to get a more straightforward and accessible complaint process available involving the commission's own work. And I want to ask Commissioner Callaway for a report on that ad hoc.
Yep, so what we're doing is reviewing the policy, and then we're also looking at some cases that have been brought here multiple times over the last year. And we are trying to acquire information to be able to intelligently speak on where in the process is these complaints, whether they be open, closed, or something else. So we are doing a lot of work, a lot of review, and a lot of analysis to make sure that we come out on the other side with a robust complaint process for the internal COC, to review the process for LASD, and then be able to make some recommendations on how we can improve the process.
And do you have a timeline for that?
With the current Chapter 4, I think with the 2 to 3 people that have come forward, using them as examples and then reviewing, it's going to take probably about another 3 months to actually give some recommendations for the patrol part, the service comment review part. And then I think the next step would be going into the grievances, which is the in custody complaint process, which is probably going to take another 3 or 4 months after that.
Thank you. Appreciate that, that look ahead. We have a few other ad hocs. I just want to do a brief review of the interview panel. As Charmaine described in the executive director's report, we did meet. Only 10 of the 15 applicants met the baseline standards requirements for eligibility for the vacancy. We are going to reopen that process for applicants for the vacancy. It's a community appointment, and we look forward to reopening that process here this summer. Second, on the Deputy Gangs Ad Hoc Committee, as noted, we did have the community listening session. I was able to tune into that last week. And the survey concluded with, as the executive director noted, 190 responses to the request for input from the community about deputy gangs. So we did fulfill our direction from the Board of Supervisors, and that was a successful event. We want to thank Melanie Rivers from the department for participating in that listening session, and for the community stakeholders here and not who took part in it. Our governance ad hoc committee, excuse me.
He looks like Sean.
I had a flashback.
Commissioner Giggins.
Just quick, how is that now that, that information going to be transmitted to is it going to be an in-person a report plus in person to the Board of Soups, or how is that going to happen?
That's a good question. I will leave that with the executive director.
And I'm going to turn it over to our principal staff analyst. I believe it's going to be a written report and it's going to be filed. So I'll turn it over to Tracy.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that? I was in the process of responding to a message from one of our commissioners. Your question is?
The question was about what form the feedback on the listening session would take, and how would it be shared back with the supervisors?
Thank you. That is going to be a written report, and we anticipate that it is going to involve not only the feedback from the listening session, but the survey that recently closed on July 15th, as well as information from a previous listening session that originally occurred in April of 2023. That was done in East Los Angeles. So it will combine all of that information in a written report that will eventually come before this body prior to going before the Board of Supervisors.
And might you guesstimate a timeline on that if you had to?
This commission is dark in August, so that means that it would make it back before this body in September. So hopefully we should have it back to the board soon thereafter.
All
Is
right.
it- Can I ask, is it for filing purposes or as a report out in front of the supervisors? Just clarify.
It's a report out. It does not necessarily have to go on their agenda.
Okay, so it's just filing it.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, I want to move on to the Governance Ad Hoc Committee. We met on July 2nd to look at the transition in our leadership and on the training that commissioners need regarding LASD policies that we are going to take advantage of August to pursue. So do look for some of that coming up before us. If you're on the Governance Committee, we're going to be taking a look at that along with the streamlining of our ad hocs. And finally, our technology ad hoc is continuing to look into drones and the drone pilot program within the department, which are being expanded to other stations, and that the use of drones are also being expanded as more are operated as gifts from the Sheriff's Foundation, not necessarily with expanded capabilities, but we are looking carefully at how they are going beyond the policy adopted originally in 2015 and the one that the department voluntarily adopted in 2018 when the commission itself urged the recommendation to be adopted, but the sheriff ended up implementing many of those recommendations voluntarily. So that is going to be a continuing issue of focus for that ad hoc, the drone programs within the sheriff's department. Any questions about that or any of the other ad hoc committee reports or the OIG report? Okay. Before we move on, I do want to just raise that we have a use of force ad hoc committee effort to now dissolve. We have a second ad hoc. I see some progress here on the dissolution of our ad hocs. That use of force having concluded that we are have met our obligations and might move on to a new streamlined role under the new ad hocs. We're going to dissolve this ad hoc now. Can I hear a motion for the dissolution of the use of force ad hoc?
I move.
Commissioner Giggins, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this dissolution motion?
Bye-bye.
Okay. Any public comment specific to this item? Hearing none, can we proceed with the vote? All commissioners in favor of the dissolution of the use of force ad hoc committee, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. Thank you, commissioners. With that, is there any additional public comment on the OIG reports or any of the ad hoc committee reports?
Yes, we do have public comments on agenda item 8. We have a total of, looks like 6, plus we also have an online public comment.
Can we keep these public comments to 1 minute, please, Ms. Jordan?
Yes, we will. We'll start with Raquel Derfler, who I believe mentioned she may not be available for this. So we will go on to George Bazzetti, if he is still available. Please take the mic. We'll have Isaac Ashbury stand in line, and Jackie Venters, and Tramiel Carter, or T. Carter. Get in line. Thank you.
I want to thank the Inspector General, Mr. Harris, and Mr. Callaway for that very important discussion. Inspector General, you really know your stuff. That was really refreshing. And Mr. Harris, your question is ultimately important in this whole thing. These details and intent are of maximum importance in this whole violence thing, the word intent. And thank you for clarifying that. And thank you, Mr. Callaway, for making sure everybody understood. And Inspector General, thank you for your refreshing knowledge and long history, because it really shows to anybody who's been around this for a long time. I've been around 50 years. And it was worth being here today, other than the people who lost their children and friends.
Thank you.
This was really
Thank you.
quite good. Thank you.
Next, we have Isaac Ashbury.
Really?
I'll be quick. I want to thank the commission for doing an outstanding job. The Inspector General also. On July the 19th at Compton, Rosecrans and Central, we're going to be having the Wall of Shame tent for everybody that's been killed in the last 25 years. So you all are welcome to come stop by. A minute. I want to thank Maxine Waters for helping us with these deputy gangs on July 21st, 2021. She had the U.S. Attorney conduct the investigation through executioners. We have a 15-page report of deputy gangs and fatal shooting officers. I just want to say thank you. Oh, and also I want to thank Rhonda and Jackie Venters from NABJA for being with me for the past 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jackie Venters.
I had a whole lot to say, but Inspector General, the homicide investigators, the Internal Affairs, Department of Justice, all these agencies are working together, you know, and it's corruption. Our cases or our issues are not being resolved. They're not even being heard. County Council, I think they're part of it because a lot of this stuff goes to them. If you don't work together with these residents out here to get some of these issues resolved, it's a waste of time coming up here because all these agencies, they're investigating themselves. The investigators need to be investigated because this stuff is not being, there's no accountability for these actions of these deputies that commit these crimes. Inspector General submitted a subpoena for my son and they denied it 2 times. They're disrespectful and they're not being held accountable.
Thank you. Tremel Carter.
If I knew I had only 1 minute, I wouldn't have come up here. And if they're gonna change the minute times, if you can advertise that on the website before people waste their time and coming down, it would be a lot appreciated. So I have to speak very fast. I keep coming down here since October 16th in regards to jail staff listing me as schizophrenic, and I'm not schizophrenic. And then 2 days later, labeling me as a coherent and not schizophrenic. I brought this to the attention to this panel. So if this panel was interested in complaint system since October, no one has responded to me. The Inspector General's office, I asked them to forward my complaint to the panel when they see things that should be warranted to go to the next level. And if she's from the district attorney's office, she should be well aware that if someone is placed and listed as schizophrenic and I have medical records to show what the doctor wrote and the second doctor wrote, I don't understand why she doesn't deem that as to be warranted to the next level. And then I just feel like this is just a process for the panel to get paid. I asked you guys to put my matter on the agenda. It has not been on there since October, but you're interested in complaint forms, nor have you presented my matter to the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you.
So if you could let people know that they only have 1 minute.
Thank you. Our online public comment we have is from Valerie Vargas. Valerie, you have been unmuted.
Hi, Valerie Vargas, family of Anthony Vargas, killed in 2018 by the East LA Sheriff's Department. I'm furious that the Office of Inspector General has decided to halt its investigations into LASD deputy killings and in-custody deaths simply because LASD refuses to grant access to the scenes. This is nothing short of a blatant attempt to block oversight and hide the truth. The community demands transparency. We have been, not excuses and cover-ups. LASD's blatant obstruction proves that they are more dedicated to safeguarding their own interest in delivering justice for the victims, survivors, and their families. By pulling back, the OG is complicit in allowing LASD to operate with impunity. And that's just completely unacceptable. And as an impacted family member and survivor of police violence, it was expected. This decision sends a dangerous message that accountability is optional and law enforcement can shield itself from scrutiny. We need independent investigations, unrestricted access to evidence and scenes, and anything less is a betrayal of our trust, a slap in the face of victims.
Thank you. Next, we have Deanna Brock. Deanna, you have been unmuted. Deanna, you've been unmuted.
Hi, I have been attending these meetings virtually every month, advocating for the transparency from the Sheriff's Department regarding the use of force investigation reports. I would like to thank Chair Johnson for being very intentional in welcoming public comment during this meeting after each agenda item. I felt that my input was truly welcome today by his process. I would also like to address the community members. We are all members of a group none of us ever wanted to be in, family members of loved ones that have been victims of excessive force by LASD, an organization that's own mission statement is to partner with the community to proactively prevent crime, enforce the law fairly, and enhance the public's trust through transparency and accountability. They are not following their own mission statement. They have failed us and the community at large. I'm not sure if one already exists, but I would like to suggest a support group for family members that are going through these devastating assaults and from members of law enforcement.
Thank you. We have no further public comments on this agenda item.
Thank you very much. And thanks again to each of the people who has taken the time to provide public comment. I think we also have to provide some opportunity for comment on non-agendized items. So I want to make sure that if there's any public comment on any issue not placed before us, if those speakers could have an allotment of time. Ms. Jordan, are there any such speakers?
Yes, we have 5 individuals signed up for non-agenda public comments. First, we have George Pazzetti. If you could please take the mic. Then Chair Johnson, how much time would you allow?
I think 90 seconds is appropriate, given the time limit that we face and the number of speakers.
Okay, so again, George Pazzetti will take the mic. If we can get Gina Youngblood to stand in line and Steve Sedano to get in line behind her. Thank you.
I have a suggestion for you to be more effective. You need to do what we did in the original one under Baca. You need to hold these meetings where the people actually are that are being affected. And that's not here. In the hood, in the east side, the inner city. And there's so much going out in the Antelope Valley, they need to have a meeting out there at least once a year, wouldn't you say, Mr. Callaway? To give people this opportunity. This is your job. And if you don't want to do your job and do it properly and deal with the people that are actually affected and in that jail, get out. We didn't make any money. We did it from a belief in wanting to fix this mess. And you can't do it in a gilded cage like this, charging parking, not close to where they are, in a place they don't trust. And I heard you guys at the last meeting I was at doing nothing but for 10 minutes going on about how afraid you were of the people you're supposed to be taking care of. You can't operate that way. So straighten up. All your building careers. That's not your job here. Your job is to service these people that are going through this hell and to prevent it from happening to any more. Nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you. Gina Youngblood, next. Steve Sedano, please stand in line. And next, if we can get Jackie Venters to get in line. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gina Youngblood, the sister of Eugene Youngblood. It is absolutely terrifying to see citizens getting killed on a daily basis. This is called justified homicide. It has been a year since I found out my brother was killed. It has been a year and still no answers, no justice. That has to stop now. And I want to add that I lost my mother on April 26th due to heartbreak and not having answers about her last child, her baby boy, that she died not knowing what happened to her son. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Steve Sedano and Jackie Venters, if you can take the line, and Tramil Carter, if you can step in line next, please.
Hello, everyone. But just to confirm, did you guys receive the printout that I shared with the individual? If not, can we escalate it to the committee, please? Paper? The printout?
Excuse me?
Okay, so I had shared a printout of the Fraternal Order of the Police. This Fraternal Order of the Police. At minimum, that is a sexist designation. Happy Thursday, in-person and attending committee members and civilians. My name is Steve Sedano, and my assigned driver license number is F as in Frank at 5633790. I was born at Killer King Hospital in 1995. I'm grateful to you all for organizing this space and choosing to show up. I grew up in South Central during domestic terrorism and had enough of an advantage to move into different charter cities and general law cities. And within those situations, experienced less kinetic representations of that domestic terrorism. I'm descended from pre-colonial people and colonial people, but I am unsure how much of that was consensual because they're too busy being dead. 11 seconds. Follow up with the Fraternal Order of the Police. They're incorporated after the Black Boule. I'm 30 years old.
Thank
I
you.
expected more for
Thank you.
passes as adults.
Thank you. Jackie Venters.
County Council, I left you guys a package maybe over a month ago, the last time I was here. I just left another one. And I want to challenge the county council to look at over that packet about this deputy. And it's not just about Tanel, it's about the other three that he shot. One, he shot a month after my son in the back. One he killed. One was a minor on his knees with his hands up. These things need to be looked at. This file is so big, and the agencies that have been sent out to, I'm looking at corruption in all these agencies because everybody is failing to do their job according to the law, and this is not fair. This is why these people are coming up here and their loved ones is dead. God saved mine to tell his story, and have not one agency reached out to him to hear his story. But I got him home with no attorney, just God. But it's sad that Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Bonner, I felt like they was personally attacked to be removed from this commission because of what they believed in, and they believed in these people back here. And hopefully we could get some changes, because it's not fair what's happening to these families, and me also. So it's some packets back there. You guys, I want everybody to get one and just review the investigation from the Department of Justice and see what it say. Why this deputy is not
Thank you.
being in jail.
Thank you. Tramil Carter.
One of my last times coming up here, I just don't feel that the panel itself is actually doing things they can do. For one, I presented things last year to the panel. I'm told they're still looking into my complaint, but I never gotten a response. It's been over the time period. County Council, I've addressed County Council about the same employee still working at LA County Jail that labeled me schizophrenic. He's still getting paid by taxpayers. County Council never responded to me. So the panel itself would have to do what they want the sheriff department to do. The panel itself can do more. The panel has never sent my information to the Board of Supervisors for review. I submitted information for this panel to put my matter on the agenda. It's never been put on the agenda, nor has this panel told me why they will not put it on the agenda. So for the panel to come and get paid as these position titles, I understand it's a part-time job, but I don't feel that the panel they're doing the things that they can do, that they are allowed to do. County Council hasn't even given me a response, whether they could do something or not to do something. So not even giving people responses, but this panel is interested in the complaint system, but they don't even themselves respond to things that the people are coming up to ask them to do, whether they can do it or not. I don't understand how it's correlating, but I understand, everyone gets paid. It's an open window door for people to come and have part-time jobs. And I think that's really what it is, because people just come up here and nothing is being done to prevent things from happening. Like my situation, the person is still working there. He could be causing people lives. And I said, many African Americans are being labeled as schizophrenic. I have proof. I have the documents. I showed you guys since last October of last year of what they wrote, and you guys still have not responded to me.
Thank you.
It's mind-boggling.
Next, we have online Deanna Brock. Deanna, you have been unmuted.
Hi, I felt like I was speed reading last time, and I just wanted to have a chance to again thank all of the members of the commission. I know you're all volunteers. I know this takes a lot of time, and your heart in what you do really shows through. I also want to thank Sean Kennedy and Chair Bonner for everything that they did for this commission as well. I had been saying in my last comments that I didn't know if there is a support group for families that have been going through this experience of having family members that were victims of excessive force by LASD. If there is, great, I'd love to know more about it. If there isn't, I would be willing to organize a support group for families of something like that.
Thank you. Next, we have Stephanie Luna. Stephanie, you have been unmuted.
Everyone. I first want to start off my public comment by welcoming Hans Johnson to the position of chair. It's good to see you up there, especially considering how you've been such a community advocate for so many families. I guess I'll start off by saying that it's deeply troubling and infuriating to see the board remove Chair Bonner just as he became more vocal and determined to advocate for the tools this commission needs to fulfill its mission. But the question remains, who benefits from silencing him? The commission can and must not allow this to derail its efforts of accountability. The community must continue the fight left by Chair Bonner and Sean Kennedy and push forward until the COC's powers are finally codified and its subpoena authority is enforced without compromise. The community demands transparency, accountability, and justice. No more excuses. I also want to uplift the need for the family harassment motion to be agendized so we can push the board to start taking action on this. I know families have come before the commission time and time again talking about family harassment, and it's still ongoing. A month or so ago, an impacted family recently passed away. Her son was killed by a bandito out of the East LA Sheriff Station, and she passed away with not only no justice for her son, but also in fear of the safety of her daughters who were victims of family harassment. And so I just would like to urge the commission to do more in getting this on the agenda so we can send the recommendation to the board to get them to start doing something to protect impacted families. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no further public comments.
All right. Thank you for all those who did weigh in. That concludes our agenda for this meeting. I want to note that we have an upcoming July 31st virtual public meeting on immigration enforcement, a subject of continuing concern, anguish, and even debate here today, especially regarding the DOJ's recent order to California sheriffs. And I want to note that we are not having a monthly meeting in August, but we will be back here at St. Anne's on Thursday, September 18th at 9 a.m. We are in adjournment until then. Thank you.